Chapter 5071. Lu Ming had a deep impression of this warship. It was because of this warship that Lu Ming had escaped from the void beast's mouth. But it was also because of this warship that a wisp of black mist had invaded Lu Ming's body. This wisp of black mist had almost taken Lu Ming's life. Lu Ming had tried everything, but he was unable to dispel it. In the end, he had to rely on the yellow mud road in his body to expel that wisp of black mist. Lu Ming had never expected to see this black warship here. The black warship emitted a terrifying aura. It was many times more terrifying than when Lu Ming had first encountered it. Moreover, the white skeleton on the deck suddenly stood up. Two balls of fire burned fiercely in the skeleton's eye sockets. "Teak, get out of my father's body!" The white skeleton on the warship actually let out a thunderous voice that caused the void to tremble. In the next moment, the white skeleton rushed out of the warship. Its white skeleton body seemed to transform into a snow-white battle sword, emitting a dazzling light. An incomparably huge sword light slashed towards the human king's body. To be more precise, it was slashing towards Teak. Teak could only withdraw his hand that was grabbing towards Lu Ming. Instead, he changed direction and attacked the sword light formed by the white skeleton. Boom! When the two collided, a pillar of light shot upwards. Above them was the continent of the 9 elements Forbidden Land. But at this moment, the land of the 9 elements Forbidden Land was completely torn apart, shattered, and destroyed. The vast land exploded into small pieces and constantly smashed downwards. Fortunately, the two of them seemed to have deliberately controlled their power and did not let the power rush downwards. Otherwise, Lu Ming would definitely have been reduced to ashes. It seemed that Teak did not want Lu Ming to die yet. This also allowed the experts of the various races to escape with their lives. This was because the power that erupted from the collision of the two was too terrifying. If they were swept in, only death would await them. After exchanging a blow, the two of them quickly separated. The white bone also retreated. Ha ha ha, I was wondering who it was. So it's little King Xianyuan Yi. So you're not dead yet. But you're almost there. You're already in this state, and you still want to fight me? Teak laughed. Lu Ming and the others were shocked. This skeleton was the son of the human king, Xianyuan? His background was starting to be astonishingly huge. Teak, you despicable person, get out of my father's body. I won't allow you to tarnish my father's body. White Bones, also known as the junior human king Xianyuan Yi, roared. He landed on the warship. His white bones glowed and merged with the warship. He controlled the warship and rushed towards Teak. Defile? Haha, what a joke. The mortal King Xianyuan was merely a defeated opponent of mine. Even until his death, he couldn't do anything to me. In the end, he could only split his own body in order to seal me. Unfortunately, I still came into being. I am eternally indestructible and undying. Teak's cold voice sounded. Back then, if my father hadn't already experienced a fierce battle, and his battle sword wasn't broken and his vitality wasn't damaged, how could he have fought with you? He would have completely obliterated you. Xianyuan Yi roared. Lu Ming was shocked. He thought of the broken sword. It was the mortal king's sword. Only 1/5 of the sword had a fingerprint on it. Previously, he thought that it was left by Teak, but now it seemed that it wasn't. It was someone else. Before the mortal king Xianyuan fought with Teak, he had already fought with other terrifying experts. Even his battle sword was broken. It could be seen how fierce that battle was. Humph! Teak snorted coldly. Obviously, he tacitly agreed. He controlled the mortal king's body, took a step forward, rushed towards the warship, and threw out a punch. Boom! The two sides clashed again and completely broke through the sky. Then, the two of them soared into the sky and fought their way out of this place, starting a great battle in the void. Lu Ming and the others felt the pressure on them lessen. They all let out a long sigh of relief. Although the two sides didn't send their power down, the pressure was still very terrifying. Lu Ming felt like his body was about to explode under that pressure. Boom! 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 A decisive battle erupted in the depths of the void. It was just too terrifying. Terrifying cracks were torn in the endless void, extending into the distance. Nearby, fragments of continents were blown apart, turning into cosmic dust. This kind of scene was simply apocalyptic. Lu Ming had seen peak reciprocity experts fight before, such as the 4 palace masters of the Heavenly Palace. However, compared to this, it was like children playing house. The difference was too great. The power of the immortal Tao. Lu Ming dared to conclude that this was definitely the power of the immortal Tao. However, Lu Ming found it very strange. This was the origin tribulation. Didn't it say that under the origin tribulation, all existences above the origin realm would be suppressed by the origin tribulation? The higher one's cultivation, the greater the effect. Why didn't Teak and Xianyuan seem to be affected? Perhaps when a living being's strength reached a certain level, they could ignore the origin tribulation. Or perhaps it was the end of the origin tribulation. The power of the origin tribulation was greatly weakened, so it didn't have much effect on living beings at this level. Lu Ming guessed. In the blink of an eye, the two had already exchanged dozens of blows. In the end, Xianyuan was no match for Teak. The warship under him was blown to pieces by a single move from Teak. Only some wreckage was swallowed by the spatial cracks. Ah! Xianyuan roared with his soul. His body shone with dazzling light as he charged at Teak, engaging in another fierce battle. Spurt! At this moment, Qiu, who was beside Lu Ming, opened its mouth and spat out the broken sword. Qiu, how are you? Lu Ming was shocked. This broken sword is too high level. I can't refine it. I need to rest. After saying that, Qiu turned into a bracelet and put it on Lu Ming's wrist. In just a short while, Xianyuan and Teak had exchanged more than a dozen blows. Xianyuan was no match for him. He was sent flying and smashed into several fragments of the continent. Lu Ming activated the Fey Monarch mark and saw cracks appear on Xianyuan's white bone body. If this continued, Xianyuan wouldn't be able to withstand it and would explode. Father, are you really dead? You're invincible and indestructible. Wake up. Xianyuan shouted. Don't waste your time. His soul has completely dissipated. Only his body exists. Don't worry, I'll let his body continue to be awe-inspiring. Teak said coldly and continued to attack Xianyuan, wanting to destroy him completely. Xianyuan was known as the most outstanding son of King Xianyuan. He was unimaginably talented. Many people thought that with enough time, Xianyuan's achievements would be comparable to his father's. Such an existence was a great threat, and had to be eliminated completely. The two exchanged a few more blows and more cracks appeared on Xianyuan's white bone body. Chapter 50-72. Xianyuan's jade-like white bones were covered with cracks, as if they would break at any moment. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before Xianyuan's white bone body would break apart. Without the support of his white bone body, Xianyuan was even less of a match for Teak. Lu Ming's face was solemn. He couldn't wait to help Xianyuan. Unfortunately, with his strength, he would be torn to ashes before he could even get close to Xianyuan. The difference was too great. He wanted to help, but he couldn't. In front of an existence like Teak, his strength was too insignificant. Boom. Boom. The battle continued, but Xianyuan's condition was getting worse and worse. The cracks on his white bone body were getting more and more. Xianyuan, you should have died in the last era. Leaving this remnant soul and white bone to wander in this world is also suffering. Today, I'll send you on your way. I'll use your father's body to send you on your way. I wonder if Xianyuan would die from anger if he was still alive. Ha ha ha, Teak laughed. DK was now controlling the body of the human king, Xianyuan. If he killed Xianyuan, from a certain point of view, it was equivalent to killing his own son with his own hands. This was absolutely cruel. My father is immortal. I don't believe that he's completely fallen. Father, today I'll use my body to wake you up. Xianyuan roared. The soul fire in his eye sockets suddenly lit up, emitting a dazzling light. Not only that, his white bone body also emitted a dazzling light, as if it was burning. Then, a rain of light rushed out, rushing towards the body of Xianyuan at an astonishing speed, entering his body. Xianyuan was burning his own body and soul, which was equivalent to a sacrifice. He was sacrificing himself, wanting to use his body and soul to wake up Xianyuan. The two of them were father and son, connected by blood. Even Teak couldn't stop this kind of sacrifice. Strands of light rain continuously entered human sovereign Xianyuan's body. Xianyuan has completely fallen. His soul has been extinguished. Not even a trace of imprint is left. It's impossible for him to be revived. Just give up. Well, you sacrificed yourself to save me some effort. Die. Teak sneered. He controlled the body of Xianyuan to step forward, wanting to kill him once and for all. But this time, he stopped in his tracks when he was only halfway out of the room. What's going on? Teak's shocked voice came from the body of Xianyuan. Boom. Suddenly, the human king's body exploded with a terrifying aura. A golden light flowed out from the human king's body. And from afar, it looked as if the human king's body was covered by a layer of golden flames. At the same time, a supreme aura from the body of Xianyuan was emitted from the body of Xianyuan's body. Xianyuan felt a strong pressure's body of Xianyuan's assessed this pressure. Pressures SSSS. Xianyuan. How is that possible? The human king's physical body has recovered? How is this possible? Didn't the human king already fall? I did not sense any trace of remnant soul or imprint in his physical body. Teak's shocked and incredulous voice came from the sovereign personage's body. Boom. Then, an even more shocking aura erupted from the human king's body. This aura was madly rushing out from the inside. Impossible, damn it. Teak's furious voice rang out. Then, he saw a black shadow slowly being expelled from the sovereign personage's body. The black shadow had the shape of a human, and the first thing that came out was its head. This was an elder, his skin dark and shriveled. Of course, this wasn't a body of flesh, but rather a soul. At this moment, the old man's face was filled with shock. Father! Xianyuan cried out in excitement. Human King Xianyuan had been resurrected. At this moment, everyone's heart was pounding madly. Among them, the humans were the most excited. Could it be that the human King Xianyuan really didn't die? This was definitely a major event that would shock the universe. If it was true, the structure of the universe would be completely changed in the future. Even if the human race only had the Azure Divine Realm left, they would be able to develop madly under the protection of the human king. In the future, even if they couldn't restore the glory of the last era, they would definitely be countless times more prosperous than now. Extremely excited, extremely excited. Meanwhile, the creatures of the forbidden areas were pale. The name of human King Xianyuan was definitely a mountain that pressed down on the heads of all the creatures of the forbidden areas. He might not have really been resurrected. Maybe it's just a trace of imprint that was awakened by Xianyuan. Some creatures of the forbidden areas whispered. In just a short while, half of Teak's body had already been exposed. Apparently, the human king's body wanted to expel Teak's soul completely from his body. Teak was unwilling to give up and struggled with all his might. His body had been completely destroyed in the battle with human King Xianyuan, leaving only his soul behind. Although his soul was almost immortal, it was still difficult for him to recover to his peak with only his soul left. Moreover, without a body, how could he cultivate in the future? Human King Xianyuan's body was undoubtedly the best body. As long as he merged with the human king's body, not only would he be able to recover to his peak in the future, he would even be able to reach a higher level. Therefore, he didn't want to give up the human king's body. He was unwilling to give up just like that. Unfortunately, no matter how he struggled, it was useless. Behind him, the human king's hand directly grabbed Teak's head. Teak was horrified. If the human king's body really recovered, his soul would be captured, and there was also Xianyuan. This was a very dangerous situation. Unable to continue controlling the human king's body, Teak's soul glowed and flew out of the human king's body. Kill! Xianyuan arrived and attacked with all his might, forcing Teak to retreat quickly. Kill! Xianyuan continued to attack Teak, wanting to completely destroy Teak. Don't think that you can do anything to me just because I'm only left with my soul. All spirits of heaven and earth, condense for me. Teak shouted coldly and formed hand seals. Suddenly, the boundless universe and endless energy rushed toward Teak, covering the surroundings of Teak's soul. These energies condensed together and seemed to form a physical body, with Teak's soul hidden inside. A corporeal decay appeared. It looked no different from a living being of flesh and blood. Exuding exuberant vitality, his qi and blood were boiling. Lu Ming and the group were dumbstruck at the sight of such means. In an instant, a physical body was reconstructed. It's just a temporary physical body. What's the use of it? Kill. Xianyuan Yi shouted coldly. The white bone body emitted a dazzling light, and turned into an eternal sword light, slashing toward Teak. Boom. Teak continued to form hand seals. A huge ferocious beast was formed. It was as big as a star and had 3 heads. This was a 3-headed hellhound, emitting a strong evil aura. Roar. The 3-headed hellhound roared loudly, shaking the universe void. A few continental fragments nearby directly exploded. Chapter 5073. The 3-headed hellhound was as big as a planet. Its roar shook the universe and shattered a few pieces of land as it charged toward Xianyuan Yi. Of course, this 3-headed hellhound wasn't a real creature. It was formed by Teak's Dharma art. Boom. The sword light and the 3-headed hellhound clashed, and there was an earth-shattering explosion. The energy surged and swept across the universe. The battle between the two sides was far enough away from Lu Ming and the others. Otherwise, they would have been sucked into it and died. In the explosion, Xianyuan Yi's figure retreated. Obviously, Xianyuan Yi was no match for Lu Ming. Xianyuan Yi was already severely injured. After the sacrifice, his strength wasn't as good as before. Although Teak had been sealed for countless years and only had his soul, his strength was far from his peak. But don't forget that even at his peak, Xianyuan Yi wasn't as strong as Teak. So Xianyuan Yi was no match for him at all. I'll send you on your way. DK leaped and rapidly approached Xianyuan Yi. His black palm was surrounded by dense yin qi and was extremely cold. Wherever it passed, the void of the universe would be frozen. Bang! Xianyuan Yi retreated. There were more cracks on his body. Some of his bones were even broken and flew out. Even the soul fire in his eye sockets dimmed. Roar! The 3-headed hellhound continued to attack. Its 3 heads spewed out 3 kinds of light beams toward Xianyuan Yi. Obviously, Xianyuan Yi was much weaker after the sacrifice. He wasn't a match for Teak at all. At this moment, a tall and burly figure appeared in front of Xianyuan Yi. His big hand covered the void and hit the 3-headed hellhound. Boom! The 3-headed hellhound's body was sent flying and it retreated. Father! Xianyuan Yi shouted. His soul fire jumped violently. Apparently, he was very excited. The human monarch really came back to life. Everyone was shocked, because it was the human monarch body that sent the 3-headed hellhound flying. The human monarch body took the initiative and blocked in front of Xianyuan Yi. This was obviously to protect Xianyuan Yi. It was a conscious action. Could it be that the human king had really revived? Teak's eyes were as dark as the abyss as he looked at the Runhuang's body, as if he wanted to see through it. He then laughed coldly and said, I'm sure that you don't have a trace of your soul left behind. It's just that Xianyuan Yi's sacrifice triggered your instincts. Xianyuan, you've completely fallen in the end. There's no possibility of resurrection. How could this be? Xianyuan Yi's body trembled. His soul fire was filled with sorrow. He could also see that the human king's body did not have the slightest trace of a remnant soul left behind by the human king. There was not even a trace of an imprint. Perhaps it was just as Teak had said. Perhaps the reason why the human monarch had acted was because Xianyuan Yi's sacrifice had triggered its instincts. Boom! The qi and blood of the human king's body boiled. His entire body was covered with a layer of resplendent light. That was immortal light. Human kings were clearly figures of the immortal Tao. Moreover, in the immortal Tao, they were all top experts. His palm blotted out the sky, and the sovereign personage physical body charged towards Teak. Wherever the palm passed, the void exploded and turned into chaos. Everything was obliterated. Even if you only have instincts left and still want to kill me, that's fine. Let me completely seal your body and slowly refine it. Teak's cold voice rang out. His aura was violent and cold, causing the void within hundreds of millions of miles to be sealed in ice. He formed hand seals with both hands, and another 3-headed hellhound was formed. Together with the previous one, they pounced towards the human king's body. At the same time, Teak's hand clenched in the air. A black spear condensed and charged towards the human king's body. The human king's body waved his hand to meet the enemy, and began a great battle with Teak. The two of them fought until the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The void was constantly torn apart and turned into chaos. Then, the chaos continued to evolve into the void of the universe. The cycle of life and death continued. The fragments of the continents around this area kept exploding. At first they exploded into small pieces. Then the small pieces exploded into powder. It was truly the destruction of the world. This scene was too terrifying. Below the 9 elements forbidden land, everyone who was watching the battle trembled. They could not stay calm. Was this the battle prowess of the top experts of the primitive continent? It was too strong. Origin realm cultivators were not even ants in front of such existences. Any strand of energy that leaked out could turn a peak origin realm cultivator to dust. The power of the immortal Tao. Is this the power of the immortal Tao? It's too strong. It's incomparable. Back then, the primitive continent was destroyed by such experts. Looming side inside. Teak and the human king's body were clearly far from their peak state. However, the power they displayed was already shocking. One could imagine how terrifying their peak state was. Moreover, during the primitive continent, there was more than one expert like the human king Xianyuan. Once they fought crazily, it was normal for the primitive continent to be destroyed. The two of them were too fast. Lu Ming and the others could only barely see a few afterimages fighting crazily. In a few minutes, the two of them had already exchanged countless blows. Boom. Suddenly, the universe exploded. A figure rapidly retreated. Lu Ming's heart sank. Because this figure was actually the human king's body. The human king's body was at a disadvantage. It was not a match for Teak. This was not surprising. After all, Teak had a soul. His consciousness was still intact. He could use all sorts of killing moves. On the other hand, the human king only had his body left. He could only rely on his instincts. He could not use any powerful killing moves. He could only rely on the human king's body. You want to fight me with just your instincts? Die. Teak coldly shouted. He formed a hand seal and attacked. 3 hellhounds roared in the universe. Together with Teak, they pounced on the human king's body. The two of them clashed once more. After exchanging dozens of blows, the human king's body became incomparably huge. He grabbed a hellhound and tore it apart, turning it into energy that returned to the universe. However, the human king's body was also struck. Another hellhound grabbed it with its claws. Several deep wounds appeared on its tough body. At the same time, Teak's spear pierced through the human king's shoulder. Bang! The human king's body shook and broke the spear. He threw out a punch to counterattack, but it was blocked by D. Quebec. 2 beams of sword light burst out from his eyes and slashed at the human king's body, forcing him to retreat. The human king's body was completely suppressed. Royal Father, let me help you. Xianyuan roared. He transformed into a beam of sword light and rushed over, helping the human king's body to fight against Teak. Both sides engaged in an even more intense battle. However, even though the human king's body joined forces with Xianyuan, they were still suppressed. After 100 moves, Xianyuan's white bone body was completely destroyed. The white bone body turned into dust that drifted through the air. Xianyuan's soul retreated explosively, almost being torn apart by Teak. Your endings are already destined. Xianyuan's body will be used by me. Xianyuan's soul will be completely destroyed. Teak coldly spoke, his eyes incomparably cold. Chapter 50-74. Teak held the black spear in his hand. His aura shook the universe as he charged toward Xianyuan. He wanted to completely obliterate Xianyuan's soul. Xianyuan's cultivation was far inferior to Teak's. Without the white bone body, he was even less of a match for Teak. Teak's black spear swept past, and Xianyuan's soul was shattered. It was almost completely obliterated, and it reassembled with great difficulty. Fortunately, the human king's body arrived in time. Otherwise, Xianyuan would be in danger. However, the human king's body was no match for Yi Shiwen. He was at a disadvantage. Father, I don't believe that you have fallen. With my life, I will awaken you. Xianyuan roared. His soul emitted a dazzling light. Sacrifice. Xianyuan Yi continued to sacrifice. This time he was sacrificing his soul. His soul was burning, turning into wisps of light rain and entering the human king's body. Boom. When Xianyuan Yi's soul entered the human king's body seemed to be ignited. A thick layer of flames rose from his body, like a volcanic eruption. An even more terrifying aura spread out. A bridge seemed to form between the human king's body and Xianyuan Yi. Xianyuan Yi's soul kept turning into light rain and entering the human king's body. The human king's body became stronger and stronger. Teek's face darkened, and he sped up his attack. The human king's body took the initiative to fight. This void, which had just recovered, exploded again and turned into chaos. In just a few breaths, Xianyuan Yi's soul had turned into light rain and entered the human king's body. At this moment, the human king's aura had reached its peak. His originally empty and lifeless eyes seemed to have regained some vigor. They shone brightly like two suns. Kill! The human king's body actually opened his mouth. A loud roar shook the universe and caused a great collapse. Then the human king's body struck out with his palm. His palm was like a divine sword. A dazzling sword light lit up the dark void of the universe and slashed towards Teek. Clang! The sword light and the black spear collided. Then the two figures retreated at the same time. Could the human king really be resurrected? This thought appeared in everyone's mind. They were extremely shocked. The eyes of the human king's physical body had clearly regained their luster, and he could even speak. If it was said to be instinctive before, then it was now conscious. Humph, Xianyuan Yi, so it was you who took control of your father's body. I told you, Xianyuan can't be revived. Teek spoke coldly with a hint of mockery in his voice. However, he didn't stop at all. He formed another hand seal and two more hellhounds appeared, pouncing towards the human king's body. As for himself, he continued to charge forward with his spear in hand. Sword! The human king's fleshly body roared. He made a grasping motion, and the broken sword that Qiuqiu had swallowed earlier began to vibrate, as if it were coming back to life. It transformed into a beam of sword light that shot through the air and landed in the fleshly body's hand. Wang! The sword chime resounded through the void of the universe. At this moment, the broken sword emitted a blinding sword light. The terrifying sword chi tore open sword scars that were billions of miles long in the void of the universe. As for the remaining 1/5 of the sword, a ray of light extended forward, forming a complete battle sword. Of course, it wasn't a real sword. It was completely composed of countless tiny sword chi. The human king's fleshly body held the battle sword. His aura reached its peak. With a slash of his sword, a hellhound's head was chopped off. At the same time, countless beams of sword light burst forth, blocking Teek's attack. Then the human king's fleshly body counterattacked. The sword light was so blinding that everyone couldn't open their eyes. When they could barely see, they saw the two hellhounds being torn apart, turning into energy and disappearing. Moreover, Teek was also hit. There was a sword wound on his chest, and he retreated rapidly. The human king's fleshly body had gained the upper hand. At this moment, everyone knew that it wasn't the human king who had come back to life. It was Xianyuan Yi who had taken control of the human king's fleshly body. Xianyuan Yi was the son of the human king. He was incomparably compatible with the human king's fleshly body. He could use it freely and was much stronger than Teek. The human king's fleshly body, or rather, Xianyuan Yi, gained the upper hand and launched a torrential attack. His sword light was too terrifying. It was peerlessly sharp and could cut through everything. It suppressed Teek, forcing him to retreat step by step. Xianyuan Yi, your father's fleshly body is burning. His essence is constantly flowing away. If this continues, the only body Xianyuan has left in this world won't be preserved. You're being unfilial. Teek shouted, wanting to use this to stop Xianyuan Yi. However, Xianyuan Yi was unmoved. He coldly replied, leaving you alive in this world is even more against my father's wishes. If I leave you alone, he will truly blame me. Teek die. Xianyuan Yi attacked like a madman. The current situation was completely reversed from before. Xianyuan Yi was completely suppressing Teek. After a dozen or so moves, one of Teek's arms was chopped off. After another dozen or so moves, Teek's body was torn apart by the peerlessly sharp sword light. However, this body was condensed from Teek's energy. Teek abandoned his fleshly body, and his soul retreated. However, it could be seen that Teek's soul was also injured. There was a sword mark on it that Teek was unable to heal. With Teek injured, Xianyuan Yi's attacks became even fiercer. He wanted to completely destroy Teek in one fell swoop. Xianyuan Yi, do you really think you can kill me? Dream on. My soul is indestructible. Even your father Xianyuan can't kill me, let alone you. Roared Teek. He fought back with all his strength, using all kinds of terrifying killing moves. However, he was still no match. Not long after, he was struck again. Another terrifying wound appeared on his soul, one that was difficult to heal. Teek's expression was especially gloomy, because the situation wasn't good. Although he was shouting that his soul was indestructible, he knew the real situation better than anyone. If he was at his peak, he really wouldn't be afraid. However, he had been suppressed for far too long. His soul had been split into 7 parts and sealed in 7 different places by the human king's fleshly body. This was both a seal and a process of obliteration. The human king Xianyuan, he had originally wanted to rely on this to completely obliterate Teek's soul. Although he hadn't succeeded, the damage to Teek was extremely great. Teek's soul was the weakest it had ever been. Now it really was possible that he would be obliterated. In the end, a ruthless light flashed in his eyes. His soul, like the human king's fleshly body, also began to emit a resplendent light. Soul ignition. Teek was also burning his soul. Although burning his soul was extremely harmful to him, it was still better than being obliterated. Soul ignition caused Teek's combat power to explosively increase. He once again began an intense battle with Xianyuan Yi. This battle was extremely bitter. It was like a continuation of that unfinished battle at the end of the Desolate Era. It was a life-and-death battle. Chapter 50-75. This battle was too tragic. Both of them were constantly injured. Lu Ming saw that the human monarch's body was pierced many times. Even his entire body was split apart once, but it gathered back together again. Teek wasn't having a good time either. Teek's soul body was completely shattered several times. It was torn into many pieces, but it gathered back together again. Both of them exchanged hundreds of blows. Both of their auras were getting weaker and weaker. At this point in the battle, both of their fighting spirits had clearly changed. Xianyuan Yi became braver and braver as the battle went on. He completely disregarded his own life, and looked like he was going to die together with Teek. Teek's fighting spirit was weakening. He had been sealed for countless years. It wasn't easy for him to escape. How could he bear to die together with Xianyuan Yi? He had the intention to retreat. Boom. After the two of them exchanged another blow, Teek's figure quickly retreated. Xianyuan Yi, today's battle ends here. If you don't die, we'll fight another day. Teek's voice sounded. Where are you going? Die. Xianyuan Yi roared and chased crazily. Teek was careless and was hit. His soul body was torn apart and turned into more than a dozen fragments. Xianyuan Yi slashed out with his battle sword. Countless sword lights condensed into a large cauldron. He wanted to absorb Teek's soul fragments and completely suppress and destroy them. At this critical moment, Teek also went all out. He directly abandoned a few of the soul fragments. These soul fragments were completely burned. They burst into brilliant light and turned into several black spears. They pierced through the large cauldron and pierced the human monarch's body. Even the human monarch's body couldn't block it, and was directly pierced. The human monarch's body retreated, blood flowing. That was the human monarch's blood. It spilled into the void and directly tore the space apart. Some of the blood even fell on the continent fragment, and directly pierced through it. The human monarch's body was injured. Teek took the opportunity to escape. The remaining soul fragments gathered back together. However, his aura was much weaker than before. Teek's gaze was incomparably cold. He swept his gaze over Lu Ming, then finally returned to Xianyuan Yi. It seems like those people sealed the passage to the void universe of the untainted universe back then. They want to isolate the untainted universe from the rest of the world, and let it wander in the chaos and slowly recover. It's a good idea, but unfortunately, I won't let them succeed. I'll open the passage to the universe. At that time, the 11th universe of the Yang realm will appear. I believe countless experts will be interested in it. You want the untainted universe to recover? Teak turned into a beam of light and sped off into the distance, his cold voice echoing in the air. The sovereign personage's physical body was severely injured. Even if the sovereign personage wanted to give chase, he could not do so. In the blink of an eye, Teak's figure completely disappeared from the void of the universe. He wants to open the universe passage. Down below, the creatures of the Forbidden Lands looked terrible. But we sealed ourselves here to wait for this opportunity. The destruction of the untainted universe left behind countless treasures. Most of the treasures haven't been opened yet. Once the origin tribulation is over, our race will be able to use our full strength. But if the universe passage is opened, the experts of the other universes will definitely swarm over. This place will be plunged into chaos, and we won't have a chance. An Origin Realm elder of the extreme evil race growled. Isn't it the same for my clan? Damn it. The creatures of the other Forbidden Lands also roared. Now that the untainted universe was separated from the rest of the world, it was a great opportunity for the creatures of the Forbidden Lands who had sealed themselves here. In the past, the void universe of the untainted universe was prosperous. There were countless experts and immortals. How many treasures had been left behind? There were many places that could not be entered at all because of powerful restrictions. They could not obtain the treasures inside at all. Only after the origin tribulation was over could the experts of the various races enter these places and obtain the real treasures. However, if the universe passage was opened, the situation would be completely different. The void universe of the untainted universe was ranked 11th among the countless universes in the world of the living. It had so many treasures that it made countless universes jealous. Now that it had been destroyed and almost all of its experts had died, it was simply a treasure to the people of the other universes. It would attract countless people to come over. How would the other Forbidden Lands have a chance? However, they could not stop it. Teak was too strong. Even if their ancestral patriarchs came, they might not be able to stop him. Cough cough. At this moment, the human king's body coughed up a few more mouthfuls of blood, but it was sucked back by the human king's body. Then, the human king's body looked towards Lu Ming with a wisp of murderous intent in his eyes. Lu Ming's body could not help but tense up. He felt a chill in his heart. Xianyuan would not kill him, would he? After all, he had contributed greatly to the merging of the human king's body and the rebirth of Teak. It was not impossible for Xianyuan to kill him. Xianyuan Yi's gaze was like a sharp sword, as if he wanted to pierce through Lu Ming. That pool of blood. Suddenly, Xianyuan seemed to have seen something and revealed an extremely shocked expression. At the same time, he revealed a deep pondering look. Perhaps there is hope in despair. Only in chaos can one rise. Forget it. Perhaps all of this is destined. This boy contains the will of the universe. Perhaps he can bring hope. I will fulfill his wish. Xianyuan whispered in his heart. Then, he waved his hand and the broken sword flew out towards Lu Ming. It was so fast that no one could see it. Even Lu Ming himself did not see it. He only felt a flash of light and flew into his sea of consciousness. Then, the human king's body tore through the void and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. It's that broken sword. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual sense and found that it was the broken sword that flew into his sea of consciousness. The broken sword was floating in his sea of consciousness, simple and unadorned. Lu Ming's heart couldn't help but beat faster. This was the human king's sword. Even if it was broken, it was only a broken sword. Its value was unimaginable. Originally, he thought that Xianyuan would take it away. He did not expect that he would leave it to Lu Ming. Not only did Xianyuan not kill Lu Ming, but he also left the human king's broken sword to Lu Ming. Lu Ming could not figure out why. Previously, Xianyuan clearly showed murderous intent towards him. Lu Ming definitely did not feel it wrong. But why did he change his mind in the blink of an eye? Forget it. Let's not think about it. Although I didn't get the human king's body after so much effort, it's not bad to get the human king's broken sword. Lu Ming comforted himself. Originally, it It was rumored that if one could get the human king's body, they would be able to dominate the world and suppress all enemies. Lu Ming was full of expectations for this. He did not expect that all of this was Teek's lies. Even if an ordinary person got the human king's body, they would not be able to control it. The people of the various major factions also sighed, especially the 3 forbidden clans and the Yi Immortal. It seemed that they had worked for nothing. In the end, it was all for nothing. They did not get anything. Chapter 50-76. This was especially true for the 3 forbidden races and the Yi Immortal. They had put in so much effort to cross the void and come to the Western universe. After spending hundreds of years, they had finally found the human monarch's heart. However, in the end, all their efforts had been for naught. They hadn't obtained anything. However, the 3 forbidden races and the Yi Immortal rejoiced at the same time. Although they hadn't obtained the human monarch's heart, Lu Ming, or rather, Heaven Destroyer, had it even worse. They hadn't obtained the human monarch's heart, but Heaven Destroyer had lost the human monarch's body that he had originally obtained. They no longer had to worry about Heaven Destroyer controlling the human monarch's body to deal with them. In the eyes of the 3 clans of the Forbidden Lands, the Heaven Exterminating Troop was nothing without a human sovereign realm physical body. Once the Source Calamity was over, the experts of the 3 clans could easily crush the Heaven Exterminating Troop. Lu Ming is there. This is the perfect time to get rid of Lu Ming. Don't let him leave. The Yi Immortal shouted. Now, everyone present knew that the human monarch's heart had been born because of Lu Ming. Lu Ming had actually beaten them to it. The Yi Immortal was even more fearful of Lu Ming now. That's right. This is the perfect time to get rid of him. Yuan Ciji also roared. Previously, when Xian Yuan Yi and Teek were fighting, the people of the various major forces had already gathered together. The 3 forbidden races and the Yi Immortal had also gathered together. Every force had suffered significant losses. Naturally, most of them had died because of Guqian. Kill him. We can't let him live. Seniors, please take action. Gaishak also roared and asked the Origin Realm experts of the Baleful Een race to take action. There's no need to say more. Just kill him. The Origin Realm experts of the Primordial Light race were very direct. They spoke coldly and attacked immediately. A total of 5 origin sources from the Primordial Light tribe turned into 5 streaks of rainbow light that charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming had once killed his way to the Primordial Sacred Mountain and stolen many top-notch source-grade divine herbs from the Primordial Light tribe. He had even forced the origin source of the Primordial Light tribe to awaken prematurely. Therefore, the origin source of the Primordial Light tribe wanted to kill Lu Ming even more. When the origin source of the Primordial Light tribe moved, some origin source of the Baleful Een tribe and the Blue Sea tribe also moved and rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's spiritual sense was very sharp. When the experts of the 3 clans moved, he immediately sensed it. Go! Lu Ming was very straightforward and rushed in another direction. Based on what he had observed earlier, there were more than 300 essences. Although this place wasn't very large, if he got caught up in a fight, the other experts from the 3 races would quickly arrive. That would be troublesome. Even though Lu Ming was powerful, he was still just a divine master. He wasn't confident that he could fight against so many experts at the same time. Lu Ming, don't go. Kill. Someone shouted. More than 10 experts from the 3 races chased after Lu Ming like a dozen bolts of lightning. The origin source of the Primordial Light tribe was especially fast. This scene also alerted the experts of the other forces. That's Lu Ming. The people of the 3 races in the Eastern Universe are chasing after Lu Ming. I heard that Lu Ming also came from the Eastern Universe. Looks like he has a big grudge against the 3 races. Interesting. The people of the Forbidden Lands in the Western Universe were all watching the show. Very good. I hope the 3 races in the Eastern Universe can kill Lu Ming. Mo Sha and the others of the extreme evil race were gloating and even sneered. Some of the experts of the 9 demonic spider were the same. They even wanted to join forces with the Primordial Light tribe to kill Lu Ming. When the humans of the Blue Sea Divine Realm saw this, their faces darkened. Lu Ming's talent is rare. He's the top person among the younger generation of the human race. We can't let anything happen to him. Let's go and chase after him. We'll help Lu Ming if we have the chance. Many Origin Realm experts of the Blue Sea Divine Realm also chased after Lu Ming. Lu Ming was extremely fast. The three races in the Eastern Universe couldn't catch up to Lu Ming for a moment. The distance between the two sides was increasing. Damn it. Someone growled. He was unwilling to accept this. He can't escape. An expert of the Baleful Een race looked at him coldly. Boom. Suddenly, the space in front of Lu Ming collapsed. A huge Baleful Een Ghost King appeared and roared toward Lu Ming. Then a figure appeared. It was an Origin Realm expert of the Baleful Een race. He held a black banner and Baleful Een chi surged. Lu Ming stabbed out with his spear without thinking. The spear collided with the Baleful Een Ghost King like lightning. It directly pierced through the Baleful Een Ghost King. Then, the War God's spear twisted and shattered the Baleful Een Ghost King. However, Lu Ming's figure was also obstructed for a while. Next, more and more figures appeared in front of him. The Primordial Light race, the Baleful Een race, and the Blue Sea race. There were experts from all three races. There were more than a dozen of them. Clearly, they were all Origin Realm experts. These people weren't the ones chasing after Lu Ming. Clearly, they had come from another direction. When they saw Lu Ming flee, they rushed in front of Lu Ming to intercept Lu Ming. Kill. The Origin Realm experts of the Primordial Light race yelled. Their bodies shone with resplendent light. The light condensed into swords of light that shot toward Lu Ming. They were astonishingly fast and terrifyingly powerful. They had used their killing moves as soon as they attacked. Lu Ming's War God's spear vibrated rapidly. He stabbed out a few times in an instant, and blocked the swords of light. However, Lu Ming's figure swayed and drifted back. There was no doubt that the Origin Realm experts of the three forbidden races all controlled Origin-grade divine weapons. Moreover, one of the people who had attacked Lu Ming had comprehended Genesis arts, and was very powerful. Lu Ming didn't use any Genesis arts, and was at a disadvantage for a moment. Lu Ming has been stopped. The experts of the three Eastern races have stopped Lu Ming. He's dead for sure. Good. The Nine demonic spider and some people from the extreme evil race were overjoyed. They believed that Lu Ming was dead for sure. Lu Ming had broken through 4 times. Although his battle prowess was strong, he was no match for those Origin Realm experts who had comprehended Genesis arts. Moreover, there was more than one such expert among the three races. With the other Origin Realm experts attacking together, Lu Ming was dead for sure. Needless to say, there were even stronger existences among them. Kill. After stopping Lu Ming, the Origin Realm experts of the Primordial Light race launched an even fiercer attack. Then the experts of the Baleful Een race and the Blue Sea race also attacked together. More than a dozen Origin Realm experts attacked together. Their power was extremely terrifying. More than a dozen attacks shook the void, giving people a feeling that they were covering the sky and earth. In the face of this attack, Lu Ming had no other choice but to use Genesis arts to resist. Boom. The power of the taboo origin circulated, and Lu Ming's body swelled in an instant, turning into a 3-feet-tall giant. Subsequently, the War God's spear swept out and a huge spear gleam appeared in front of him. The attacks of more than 10 origins collided with the spear gleam. Boom boom boom. An earth-shattering boom rang out. The spear light shook endlessly and then collapsed. At the same time, Lu Ming's body shook violently and he retreated rapidly. However, the attacks of more than a dozen Origin Realm experts were also blocked. This scene shocked everyone. Many people were tongue-tied. Their eyes widened as they watched this scene in disbelief. Chapter 5077. Lu Ming actually blocked the attacks of more than a dozen Origin Source experts. How is that possible? Someone roared in shock. More than a dozen Origin Source experts had joined forces, and there was no lack of existences who had comprehended Genesis techniques. They were just too powerful, not something a divine master could withstand. Originally, everyone thought that Lu Ming would be seriously injured even if he didn't die after taking this wave of attacks. But they didn't expect Lu Ming to block this wave of attacks and was only pushed back. It was really unbelievable. This is in Genesis technique. It's in Genesis technique. 5 times the extreme break. This is 5 times the extreme break. Lu Ming has already broken the extreme break 5 times. Many people roared. This time, even the Dark Heavens warriors, the Tianyin Vine, and even the humans of the Azure Divine Realm couldn't remain calm. To be able to block the joint attack of so many Origin Realm experts, he definitely surpassed the 4th extreme break. Beyond the 4th extreme break, there was only the 5th extreme break. Lu Ming could actually break the extreme break 5 times. This was simply unbelievable. It was rare to break through the limits 4 times. Including Lu Ming in the past, there were only 3 people who had broken through the limits in the primitive universe. And breaking the extreme break 5 times was just a legend. Even during the primitive universe era, it was extremely rare, and there might not even be one in an era. But now, in this broken primitive universe, there was actually a origin source expert who had broken the extreme break 5 times, which shocked everyone. How is this possible? Someone whispered in the crowd. This person was Shi Tianting. Shi Tianting had successfully broken through under the origin source tribulation, and was confident that he had completely surpassed Lu Ming. Back then, he had said that if Lu Ming couldn't break through under the origin source tribulation, he wouldn't be qualified to be his opponent. But he didn't expect Lu Ming to break the extreme break 5 times. The significance of breaking the extreme break 5 times was too shocking. From another perspective, even if Lu Ming couldn't break through to the origin source realm under the origin source tribulation, his potential and battle strength wouldn't be weaker than him after reaching the origin source realm. This meant that Lu Ming's talent was too terrifying. Even without the support of the origin source tribulation, he wouldn't be weaker than him. His confidence had suffered a great blow. Impossible. Mo Sha roared, unable to accept all of this. He had a great enmity with Lu Ming, and he couldn't bear to see Lu Ming become strong. Now that he found out that Lu Ming had broken through 5 times, he really couldn't stand it. He's dead. Even if he's a 5-fold extreme break, he's still going to die. With so many experts surrounding him, he's definitely going to die. Then Mo Sha screamed in his heart as if he saw hope. This kid. Yu Wuxia's pupils shrank rapidly as he was extremely shocked. The fact that a divine master could break through 5 extreme breakthroughs was simply shocking. He was truly shocked. One had to know that Tang Feng had not even broken through 5 times when he was at the divine master realm. However, after Tang Feng broke through to the source realm, he became stronger and stronger, expanding his own path, reaching an astonishing level. However, not everyone could do that. Generally speaking, the more divine masters broke through, the greater their future achievements would be. The people of the 3 tribes of the Forbidden Area were also stunned. Their hearts were in turmoil. However, they quickly reacted. Kill him. We must get rid of him. We can't leave him alive. That's right. Even if we have to risk our lives, we must keep him here. The dozen or so Source Realm experts in front roared, and their source power erupted as they charged toward Lu Ming again. At this time, the dozen or so Source Realm experts who were chasing after Lu Ming also arrived. There were a total of 30 Source Realm experts. They attacked from the front and back, and their attacks were like rolling waves, pressing toward Lu Ming as if they were going to crush Lu Ming. Whoosh! A pair of wings appeared on Lu Ming's back. This was the embodiment of all the speed secret techniques, which allowed Lu Ming's speed to increase to the extreme. With a flap of his wings, Lu Ming's figure soared into the sky, avoiding the attacks from the front and back. Don't even think about leaving. There were already people watching Lu Ming to prevent him from escaping. As soon as Lu Ming soared into the sky, there were at least tens of thousands of beams of light, stabbing toward Lu Ming like tens of thousands of sword lights. Break! Lu Ming roared, and the war god spear slashed out like a saber. The tip of the spear was surrounded by divine light, and an arc-shaped light flashed, slashing at the beams of light. Puff! The beams of light were cut off one by one. However, the other figures also soared into the sky. More than 30 Source Realm experts were scattered in all directions, surrounding Lu Ming in the middle. Kill! Another wave of attacks broke out. A spear light, a saber, a sword light, and a finger force respectively attacked Lu Ming's for vital points. These 4 people were extremely strong, and they were all existences who had comprehended Genesis techniques. In fact, among the more than 30 people, there were more than 4 existences who had comprehended Genesis techniques, but 8. The other four were accumulating their strength, ready to give Lu Ming a fatal blow at any time. I must rush out. Lu Ming's expression was solemn. Being besieged by so many experts, he was in a very passive and dangerous situation. One or two Source Realm experts who had comprehended Genesis techniques were easy to deal with, but there were 8 of them, plus the other experts. It was too difficult to deal with, and Lu Ming felt a huge pressure. Clad in battle armor, he attacked with all his strength. His whole body turned into a spear light, rushing in one direction, trying to break out. However, he was still hit by a Source Realm expert's Genesis technique. Even though he was wearing a top Source-grade battle armor, and had a thin layer of defense on his skin, it was still almost pierced through. The terrifying power passed through the battle armor, causing his blood and chi to churn. Clang! Lu Ming swung his spear, blocking a battle sword. Then, with a loud roar, his forbidden Source Realm erupted. The War God Spear swept out and repelled 5 Source Realm experts. 2 of the Source Realm experts had not comprehended Genesis techniques, and their battle strength was weaker. They vomited blood from Lu Ming's attacks. Kill, kill, kill. Lu Ming's eyes were red with killing intent. He began to ignore his defense and attacked fiercely in one direction. His vitality was strong. As long as he could block the attacks for a short period of time, he would be able to break out. If he did not break out of the encirclement and was trapped, he would be in great danger. No matter how strong his vitality was, he would be exhausted to death. This was because there were more experts from the 3 races rushing over. He had to break out of the encirclement before the next wave of experts from the 3 races arrived. Next, Lu Ming ignored his defense and endured more than 10 attacks in a row. He coughed up blood and several of his bones were broken. However, the result of the battle was obvious. He was finally about to break out of the encirclement. Get lost! Lu Ming roared and attacked with all his strength, repelling several Source Realm experts. Just as he was about to break out, a young figure suddenly appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was a young man. Or at least he looked like a young man in his 20s. His body emitted a dazzling light. You're Lu Ming. Die. A cold voice sounded. One could see a light in the young man's body. It was a kind of immortal light. It was similar to Yuan Ciji, Yuan Wuji, and the others. They were light controllers of the primordial light clan. However, this person's cultivation level was at the early origin realm. Martial Apex Immortal Light. The young man from the primordial light clan shouted. A halo of immortal light surrounded his body as he slashed at Lu Ming. The slash was terrifying and as fast as lightning. Chapter 5078. The young man from the primordial light clan unleashed a terrifying sword strike. The sword strike made Lu Ming's hair stand on end as he sensed fatal danger. Lu Ming had a feeling that he wouldn't be able to withstand the sword strike even if he had a top Source-grade armor. Clang! Lu Ming raised the Battle God Spear in front of him in a hurry. The battle sword struck the Battle God Spear, causing the spear to vibrate violently. Lu Ming's figure was pushed back as his arm trembled. He almost lost his grip on the Battle God Spear. At the same time, Lu Ming sensed traces of sword aura rushing into the armor and cutting his body. Lu Ming frantically circulated the taboo power of origin before he managed to dispel the traces of sword aura. What terrifying battle strength! Lu Ming's face was grave. The young man from the primordial light clan was shockingly strong. He was even stronger than the origin source power Lu Ming had encountered before. He was a prodigy who possessed the martial apex immortal light, similar to Yuan Ciji, Yuan Wuji, and the others. One could imagine that this person had broken through 3 times when he was a divine master. After such a person broke through to the divine master stage, his genesis root was likely not a low-grade one, but a mid-grade one. There was no doubt that he had comprehended his own genesis art. He controlled a top source-grade divine weapon, comprehended genesis art, and possessed a mid-grade genesis root. Such a person was already a top expert among the early origin source experts. He wasn't someone Lu Ming could deal with. Yuan Sanji. Young Master Yuan Sanji. Some people cheered. This person was Yuan Sanji, the brother of Yuan Ciji, Yuan Wuji, and the others. You have some strength, but only death awaits you in front of me. Yuan Sanji's eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent. The martial apex immortal light surrounded his body, making him look like an immortal. Lu Ming's face was a little gloomy. He had wanted to break out of the encirclement, but Yuan Sanji had forced him back into the encirclement with one move. In addition, a group of experts from the 3 clans was rushing over. Once they joined the encirclement, Lu Ming wouldn't be able to escape. There's no need for so many people to kill Lu Ming. I alone am enough. Yuan Sanji was very conceited. He took a step forward, and his sword light soared into the sky. He was about to launch a fierce attack. However, at this moment, the void shattered as a terrifying saber light slashed across Yuan Sanji's head. Yuan Sanji's expression changed slightly as he waved his sword to block. Clang! An earth-shattering explosion erupted as the sword chi and saber radiance sliced through the void, creating numerous cracks. The saber light was sent flying back. Behind the saber light, the void exploded, and a burly figure appeared. This was a young man. He was tall and sturdy, and he held a huge blade that was as big as a door. His aura was astonishing, and he was like a huge beast. However, this was a human. The moment this human appeared, Yuan Sanji's body flinched as he retreated backwards. Yuan Sanji's face instantly turned gloomy when he saw this human youth. This was because he could feel pressure coming from this human youth. This person was an expert who was at the same level as him. The human youth nodded at Lu Ming in a friendly manner. He then swept his gaze across Yuan Sanji and the rest and sneered. So many origins joining forces to deal with a divine master. How embarrassing. I'll be your opponent. You want to save him by yourself? How naive. Then let's die together. Yuan Sanji shouted coldly as his sword light flashed. 2 rays of sword light slashed towards Lu Ming and the human youth at the same time. Swoosh. The human youth made his move. He slashed out with a huge saber that was as big as a door and split the void apart. It directly shattered the 2 rays of sword light that Yuan Sanji had sent out. Not only that, but the huge saber was also slashing towards Yuan Sanji's face. Yuan Sanji had no choice but to use all his strength to fight the human youth. At the same time, a group of human experts rushed over and blocked the group of experts from the 3 clans that were rushing over. Boom! Lu Ming naturally wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. He used all his strength and rushed towards a direction. Bam bam! A few origins were sent flying by Lu Ming and spat out blood. Stop him! Don't let him escape! Many people roared and attacked frantically, trying to stop Lu Ming. However, without someone at Yuan Sanji's level, the others couldn't stop Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming didn't hesitate to pay a price and quickly broke out of the encirclement. Swoosh! Then Lu Ming's body moved like lightning and quickly distanced himself from the 3 clans of the Forbidden Grounds. At the same time, Lu Ming took out a few drops of Origin Spirit Elixir and swallowed them. He quickly refined them. Lu Ming recovered at an astonishing speed. While recovering, Lu Ming's spiritual consciousness entered his sea of consciousness. He wanted to try controlling the Human King's broken sword. However, it was impossible. Lu Ming couldn't control it at all. The Human King's broken sword remained motionless. At the same time, Lu Ming called out to Qiuqiu, but Qiuqiu also remained motionless. Obviously, forcibly devouring the Human King's broken sword had a great impact on Lu Ming, causing Qiuqiu to fall into a deep sleep. Kill, don't let Lu Ming escape. The people of the 3 clans of the Forbidden Grounds were still roaring and chasing after Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly. He really wanted to fight with the 3 clans of the Forbidden Grounds, but he knew that he couldn't do it today. There were too many experts of the 3 clans of the Forbidden Grounds here. There were more than 300 people, and only a few dozen had come. If all of them came, it would be very shocking. There was no doubt that there would be experts at Yuan Sanji's level. At that time, even if the humans of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm helped him, he wouldn't be able to stop them. He might even implicate the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. Moreover, the 9 demonic spider and the extreme evil race were also eyeing covetously. There was no guarantee that they wouldn't attack. Now was not the time to be stubborn. The best plan was to escape. He would have a chance to take revenge. Everyone, thank you for your help. I've escaped, please leave. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to the experts of the human race. At the same time, the wings on his back flapped continuously. He was faster than lightning as he quickly flew away. The people of the 3 clans of the Forbidden Grounds couldn't catch up with him. Let's go. The experts of the human race also quickly left the battlefield and flew away. Clang. The young man from the human race and Yuan Sanji exchanged a blow. With the help of this blow, he quickly retreated. Kid, let's fight again another day. The young man from the human race carried his giant blade and quickly flew away. The people in front of him who were blocking his path were directly sent flying by his blade, and almost chopped to death. Damn it! Yuan Sanji roared. However, he knew that it would be difficult to stop an expert like the young man from the human race. He abandoned the young man from the human race and quickly chased after Lu Ming. With the martial extreme immortal light, his body turned into immortal light, and his speed was amazing. However, Lu Ming was 1 step ahead of him, and he couldn't catch up. After chasing for a while, he didn't know which direction Lu Ming had flown in. The fight for the human heart came to an end. However, the waves that it caused quickly spread throughout the universe. The Human King's great enemy had escaped, and engaged in a shocking battle with the Human King's son before leaving. As for the Human King's son, Xianyuan Yi, he controlled the body of the Human King, and disappeared into the vast universe. In particular, Teek's words before he left caused even more waves. Chapter 50-79. Before Teek left, he said that he would open a universe channel to connect the Eldritch universe to the outside world. When the time came, experts from other great universes would descend. This matter made the hearts of the various great forbidden lands heavy, their faces unsightly. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had a lot of thoughts and doubts in his mind. Universe channel, other great universes? Lu Ming had long known that the creatures of the Forbidden Lands, the heavenly human race, and the demons were not creatures of the Eldritch universe. They were creatures of the outerverse. But what was the universe channel all about? Was it closed in the past? Moreover, Teek said that the Eldritch universe was ranked 11th among the countless universes in the Yang realm. Yang realm? What did that mean? There were countless great universes. Were there countless great universes like the Eldritch universe outside the universe? Lu Ming didn't know any of this. Now that early-stage Origin Realm people can be revived, maybe I can ask the Origin Realm seniors in the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. Lu Ming thought. All of this must be related to the secrets of the Eldritch universe. Only those who had lived for a long time could know many secrets. The existence of the Origin Realm coexisted with the universe, and could live for countless years. There were most likely such elders in the Tsangqing Divine Realm, who knew many secrets. Lu Ming planned to return to the Tsangqing Divine Realm, and find someone to ask. After a while, Lu Ming returned to the Ashen Azure Divine Realm, and reunited with Mulins and Huangling. He also briefly told them about his experience during this period. Although the 2 girls had learned about what had happened in the 9 Elements Forbidden Land in advance, they were still shocked and worried for Lu Ming after listening to Lu Ming's explanation. The next day, Lu Ming found Hanyu and asked her about the universe channel and the outerverse. Sure enough, Hanyu's knowledge was very limited. She had learned many things from the ancient books, but the ancient books in the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were severely damaged. There were not many records of the previous era. Lu Ming, I know a senior. Although he's only at the early stage Origin Realm, he survived from the previous era. He's one of the first 100,000 people to create the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. He must know many secrets. I can take you to visit him. Hanyu said. Thank you, Miss Hanyu. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Not long after, Lu Ming met this senior. It was an old man who looked really old. His hair was dry, and his face was full of wrinkles. When Lu Ming arrived, he was watering the flowers in the courtyard. That's right, he was watering the flowers. The old man's courtyard was filled with all kinds of flowers and plants. There were precious divine herbs and ordinary flowers and plants. On the way, Hanyu briefly introduced the old man. The old man was called Sun Yan. His talent could only be described as ordinary. After reaching early reciprocity, his potential had been completely exhausted. Even after countless years, he struggled to break through to a higher level. Therefore, Sun Yan was disheartened by cultivation, and shifted his attention to other places. He was infatuated with flowers and plants and was obsessed with planting all kinds of flowers. You're Lu Ming. You're really a young hero. Although your bloodline level isn't high, you can break through 5 times. Even in the entire Eldritch continent, there are only a few. It's really a miracle in this era. Seeing Lu Ming, Sun Yan looked at him carefully as if he had seen a piece of treasure. The matter of the 9 elements Forbidden Land had already spread across the universe when Lu Ming returned to the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. Not only the matter of Xianyuan E Antique, but also the battle between Lu Ming and the 3 races in the Forbidden Land, and the 5 extreme breakthroughs had also spread across the universe. This shocked countless people. For many people, breaking through 5 times was no less than the revival of a great figure like Teak. Because it was too rare. Lu Ming greets Senior. Lu Ming was only able to break through 5 times by luck. Lu Ming said modestly, "Well, don't be humble in front of this old man. Breaking through 5 times isn't something that can be achieved by luck. In history, there are more than thousands of geniuses with great luck, but there are very few who can break through 5 times in the Almighty Realm. But young man, don't be too complacent. Some people might not be as good as you in the Almighty Realm, but after breaking through to the Origin Realm, they'll take another step forward. I'm afraid their achievements won't be weaker than yours, or even stronger. You have to continue to work hard," Sun Yan warned. Lu Ming nodded naturally. "Little guy, did you come to find this old man today to know something about the Eldritch continent?" After all, Sun Yan was an old monster who had lived for countless years. How could he not know the purpose of Lu Ming's visit? "Senior, you really have great foresight," Lu Ming flattered and continued. Before Teak left, he said that he wanted to open the universe channel and let the people of the Outerverse in. "I want to know what the Outerverse is like. Are there many great universes like the Eldritch universe? Also, what does the Yang realm mean?" Lu Ming asked the question in his heart. Once the universe channel is opened, this broken universe will become more and more chaotic. Sun Yan sighed softly with worry in his eyes. He didn't answer Lu Ming immediately, as if he was sorting out his words. After a while Sun Yan said, "The Eldritch universe full name is the Eldritch Void universe. It's just one of the great universes in the endless chaos. As far as I know, there are more than 30,000 great universes like the Eldritch Void universe." "More than 30,000 great universes?" Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. "These 30,000 great universes are only the great universes of the Yang realm. There are also the Yin realm, which has at least 30,000 great universes," Sun Yan said. "Yang realm? Yin realm?" Lu Ming was even more confused. Why was there another Yin realm? All of this starts from the Universe Sea. Legend has it that the Universe Sea is the origin of all universes and the core of all universes. In the endless chaos, there are 2 universe seas called the Yin-Yang Universe Sea. Outside the Yang Universe Sea is endless chaos. In the chaos, there are many great universes, all of which have the Yang Universe Sea as the core. These great universes with the Yang Universe Sea as the core are collectively known as the Yang realm. And those great universes with the Yin Universe Sea as the core are collectively known as the Yin realm. By the way, the creatures in the Forbidden Lands in the universe are actually from the Yin realm, Sun Yan explained. Lu Ming was extremely shocked. His heart was in turmoil and he could not calm down. It turned out that the Universe Sea was the core of the endless chaos. And there were also 2 universe seas called the Yin-Yang Universe Sea. The Eldritch universe obviously belonged to the Yang Universe Sea and the Yang realm. What surprised Lu Ming was that the creatures in the Forbidden Lands were actually from the Yin realm. The Yang realm and the Yin realm have been opposing each other since ancient times and have been fighting each other. Sun Yan continued. Did the creatures in the Forbidden Lands stay in the Eldritch universe because of the invasion of the Yin realm? Lu Ming asked. Chapter 50-80. I'm not too sure about that either. I only know that the various forbidden grounds have existed for a terrifyingly long time. I don't know what happened in the distant past either. After all, I'm only an early reciprocity cultivator. During the primeval continent, I wasn't even cannon fodder, said Jianqin. Sun Yan smiled bitterly. Lu Ming and Han Yu didn't say anything. They knew that Sun Yan's cultivation couldn't break through for countless years, so there would always be a grudge. Ha ha ha, it's been so many years, but I'm still conflicted. It seems that my mentality isn't good. Sun Yan laughed self-deprecatingly and continued. However, although there are tens of thousands of great cosmoses in the young world, it was extremely prosperous at the end of the Eldritch continent. It was ranked 11th among the tens of thousands of great cosmoses in the young world. It could be said to be a top great cosmos. Was it the most prosperous at the end of the Eldritch continent? Lu Ming caught the meaning behind Sun Yan's words. That's right. In the beginning, the Eldritch universe wasn't ranked that high, but at the end of the Eldritch continent, the human race, the Wu people, and the demon race reigned together. The strength of the three races reached the peak in history, which also made the Eldritch universe's ranking in the young world rise rapidly, all the way to 11th. Sun Yan said. Since the Eldritch universe was so powerful, why was it destroyed? What happened back then? Lu Ming continued to ask. Since the Eldritch universe was ranked 11th in the young world, it could be said to be a top great cosmos, but it was still destroyed. Who did it? Could it be a top 10 great cosmos? It should be a powerful force from the Een world. A terrifying expert invaded, and a shocking battle happened. That Teak is a peerless expert from the Een world, Sun Yan said with a solemn expression. Een world? If the Netherworld launched a large-scale invasion, didn't the great cosmoses in the world of the living lend a helping hand? Lu Ming asked. I'm not sure about that. After all, my level is too low, and I can't come into contact with some big secrets. I'm afraid it involves some extremely high-level secrets. It's difficult for non-immortals to come into contact with them. Sun Yan sighed. Then Sun Yan told Lu Ming a lot. For example, every great cosmos had a universe channel connected to the outside world. For example, every great cosmos wasn't fixed forever in the endless chaos. They could actually move. In short, after chatting with Sun Yan, Lu Ming had broadened his horizons. Originally, he had been limited to the primitive universe, but now he knew that this world was countless times larger than he had imagined. Outside the primitive universe, there was endless chaos. In the endless chaos, with the Yin Yang universe sea as the core, tens of thousands of great universes of various sizes extended out. Legend had it that the cosmic sea was the origin of all the universes. Outside each cosmic sea, there were more than 30,000 great universes that formed the Yang realm and the Yin realm. At its peak, the primitive universe was ranked 11th in the mortal realm. Eventually, it was invaded by the underworld, causing it to collapse and be destroyed. Back then, the primitive universe had been extremely prosperous, and the immortals had dominated it. In the end, it had been destroyed. Countless masters had died in battle, leaving behind a large number of relics and even immortal weapons. However, Sun Yan and some of his partners had speculated that the masters of the primitive universe might not have died and had left. Before they left, they had sealed the universe channel connecting the primitive universe and the outside world, and let the primitive universe drift in the endless chaos, waiting for the primitive universe to recover itself. As a result, no one from other great cosmoses had entered the primitive universe for countless years. Now Teak was going to open the sealed universe channel of the primitive universe. Once the universe channel was opened, the aura of the primitive universe would be exposed in the chaos, and the grand cultivators of other great cosmoses would be able to capture the coordinates of the primitive universe. After all, the primitive universe was ranked 11th in the mortal realm. Immortals had dominated it, so there must be a lot of treasures and opportunities left behind. There were many relics in the ruins of the universe that hadn't been excavated yet. It wasn't that the people of the major forces didn't want to excavate them, but that they were powerless. This was because these relics often had peerless formations or were shrouded in restrictions, and they were full of danger and killing intent. Now that the origin tribulation had occurred, the masters had sealed themselves, so they didn't have the ability to explore these relics. The major forces were waiting. After the origin tribulation was over, the experts of the major forces would come out and explore and excavate these relics to obtain treasures and opportunities. This was why the major forces repeatedly emphasized that the creatures of the Forbidden Lands, the heavenly human race, and the quasi-immortal race were rare opportunities. If they grasped them, they would be able to soar into the sky and make the entire race rise. This was the reason. Now, the opportunities that had been exploited or obtained by others were only a drop in the ocean. Until now, there had never been any news of the appearance of an immortal weapon. That was a top treasure that even immortals would go crazy for. Therefore, once the primitive universe channel was opened, and the people of other great cosmoses knew about it, it would be strange if they didn't go crazy to enter. Sigh, what an eventful year. After bidding farewell to Sun Yan, Lu Ming let out a long sigh. The primitive universe was already chaotic enough. The major forbidden lands were everywhere, and there were only a few hundred years left until the origin tribulation. At that time, there would be many experts. Now the universe channel might be opened. When the experts of other great cosmoses swarmed in, the primitive universe would be in chaos. It could be imagined that there would be endless battles at that time, ushering in an incomparably chaotic era. This was a great misfortune for all living beings born in this era. They were destined to experience the tempering of blood and fire. If they were careless, they would die. Lu Ming felt a strong pressure. He still had family and friends that he needed to protect. With his current combat strength, it was far from enough. Not to mention that there were only a few hundred years left until the origin tribulation. Even these few hundred years were not easy. Lu Ming wasn't a match for the early-stage origin realm powerhouses of the major forces. At that time, if a large number of powerhouses from the outerverse entered, his strength would be even more insufficient. He had to break through to the origin realm as soon as possible to barely have the strength to protect himself. He also had to break through to the origin realm under the origin tribulation. Only then could his combat strength reach a higher level. If Shi Tianting could succeed, he was confident that he could too. However, when he focused his attention on breaking through to the origin realm, he felt an inexplicable chill in his heart. He vaguely felt a great danger. It was as if he wanted to break through under the origin tribulation, he would definitely die. What's going on? Lu Ming frowned and pondered. For someone of his level to have such a feeling, it definitely wasn't an illusion. It was most likely true. Could it be that my cultivation hasn't reached perfection yet? Or is it that my cultivation has increased too quickly recently, and my foundation is unstable, leaving behind some hidden dangers? Lu Ming pondered. Chapter 5081. He felt that his cultivation had already reached the limit of a peak divine master, and could break through to origin at any time. However, his cultivation had increased too quickly during this period of time, especially in the past 200 years. He had consumed tens of thousands of drops of origin spirit elixir, and forcefully pushed his cultivation to the limit of a peak divine master with the help of the origin spirit elixir. His foundation might be a little unstable, and it was normal to have some hidden dangers. If he wanted to break through to origin during the origin tribulation, he had to be perfect in all aspects and maintain his true peak condition. Only then would he have the confidence to break through. If his foundation was a little unstable, or there were some hidden dangers, all his previous efforts would be wasted and he would die. Maybe I need to consolidate for a while before I can break through. Lu Ming muttered. After returning to his residence, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and circulated his forbidden origin over and over again. He condensed his forbidden origin, consolidated his cultivation and eliminated all hidden dangers. While Lu Ming was in seclusion, some people were not idle. They were the Yi Immortal and the people of the three forbidden lands. They wanted to kill Lu Ming, but Lu Ming was hiding in the Ashen Azure Divine Realm, so they could not do anything. It was not that the three forbidden lands of the Eastern Universe were afraid of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. The main reason was that their foundation was not here. Their main camp was far away in the Eastern Universe. Although there were many experts in the Western Universe, with more than 300 early-stage origin existences added up, they were obviously not enough to go against the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. The main camp of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm was here, so there was an endless stream of experts and there was a great array supporting it. With Lu Ming hiding in the Ashen Azure Divine Realm, it was impossible for them to kill Lu Ming. However, they immediately thought of a move, and that was the various great forbidden lands in the Western Universe. The 5 great forbidden lands in the Western Universe are also from the Outerverse, and they stand on the same side as us. Lu Ming possesses the power of the universe, and the stronger his cultivation is, the greater the suppression he exerts on us and the greater the suppression he exerts on them. Right now, the 5 forbidden lands in the western part of the universe don't know that Lu Ming has the power of the universe. As long as we tell them about this and tell them how powerful it is, the 5 forbidden lands will never let Lu Ming go. They won't let him continue to grow and suppress them. Ye Immortal said, his eyes extremely cold. He had a sense of urgency, wanting to kill Lu Ming as soon as possible. Lu Ming was simply too terrifying, far surpassing his imagination. It hadn't been long, but he had broken through the extreme limit 5 times. It was simply inconceivable. When he first saw this, he was so shocked that his heart almost exploded. He was the most powerful patriarch of the celestial race. By chance, he had successfully reincarnated, which was why he had the battle prowess of someone who had broken through the pinnacle 3 times. In his previous life, when he had been at the Divine Master Realm, he had not broken through 3 times. He knew how difficult it was to break through the pinnacle 3 times. The talent of the celestial race was still incomparable to that of the Forbidden Lands. The difference was too great. The peerless geniuses of the Forbidden Lands could break through the pinnacle 3 times with their own talent alone. However, the celestial race could not do it. For example, no matter how well Yi Qiuxian used the perfect power of heaven, he could not break through the pinnacle 3 times. He could only break through the pinnacle 2 times. It was already so difficult to break through the pinnacle 3 times, let alone break through the pinnacle 4 times. However, Lu Ming had broken through the pinnacle 5 times. Such a person made him unable to eat or sleep in peace. He wanted to get rid of Lu Ming all the time. You're right. As long as they know that Lu Ming has the power of the universe, the Forbidden Lands in the western part of the universe will not let Lu Ming go. Moreover, Lu Ming has a grudge with some of the Forbidden Lands. Let's start with the Extreme Evil Tribe and the 9 demonic spider. As long as they agree, the other 3 Forbidden Lands will be easy to deal with. Okay, let's do that. After a discussion, they decided to go to the Extreme Evil Tribe first. The result was simpler than they had expected. When they told them that Lu Ming had the power of the universe, the Extreme Evil Tribe immediately agreed. They planned to send their elites to get rid of Lu Ming. Then they went to the 9 demonic spider. The 9 demonic spider also agreed without hesitation. Then the Dark Heaven Warriors, the Icefire Tribe, and the Dark Sky Vine Tribe all agreed. They planned to work together to get rid of Lu Ming. They even planned to go to the western part of the universe to destroy the Heaven Destroyer after getting rid of Lu Ming. This was because other than Lu Ming, there were other people in the Heaven Destroyer who could control the power of the universe. In fact, the 5 Forbidden Lands in the western part of the universe were very shocked. They did not expect that there were so many people in the eastern part of the universe who could control the power of the universe. They did not know before. They only knew that the primitive universe was constantly suppressing them, and it was even getting stronger. They originally thought that this was the instinctive resistance of the universe's will. They did not expect that the reason was actually the power of the universe. This was actually a manifestation of the resistance of the universe's will, borrowing the hands of other creatures in the universe. As long as they got rid of the people who possessed the power of the universe, the pressure on them would be greatly reduced in a short period of time. Although Shi Tianting of the Heavenly Yin tribe had a good impression of Lu Ming, and felt that they were of the same kind, this concerned the life and death of the entire tribe. He was powerless to stop it. It was just like Zixian back then. Soon after, a total of 800 Origin Realm experts from the 8 Forbidden Lands attacked the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. The Ashen Azure Divine Realm shook. Countless experts rushed to the entrance of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm to guard it. Outside the Ashen Azure Divine Realm, more than 800 Origin Realm experts lined up in a row. The scene was so shocking that it made the people in the Ashen Azure Divine Realm pale. They were not afraid of the 800 early Origin Realm experts from the Dandan. The entrance of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm was covered with layers of formations and powerful restrictions that were enough to stop the enemy. However, the significance was extraordinary. The 8 Forbidden Lands had come together. This represented the attitude of the 8 Forbidden Lands. Were the 8 Forbidden Lands going to work together to destroy the Ashen Azure Divine Realm? If that was the case, it would be a disaster. In the past, the 5 forbidden lands of the Western universe had fought for themselves. They had never intended to work together to deal with the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. This was why the Ashen Azure Divine Realm had competed with the 5 forbidden lands for the resources of the universe, and had constantly risen. If the other forbidden lands had worked together, the people of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm could only hide in the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. They would not dare to come out at all. What was going on now? Why have you come to my Ashen Azure Divine Realm? Asked a human elder. He was an early origin realm expert. It's very simple. We're here to ask for Lu Ming. Hand him over, and we'll leave immediately. A young man from the primordial light race said coldly. He was Yuan Sanji. Their target is Lu Ming. The people of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were in an uproar. What's going on? Lu Ming has enmity with the 3 forbidden lands of the East. We know that the 3 races wanted to kill Lu Ming in the 9 elements forbidden land. But why have the 5 forbidden lands of the West come together? In the Western universe, Lu Ming has only offended the 9 demonic spider and the extreme evil race. He has not offended the Sky Vine. Why have the Dark Heavens warriors and the Ice Fire race come? The people of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm could not help but discuss. Chapter 5082. Cut the crap and hand over Lu Ming. Otherwise, the bloodline of the untainted human tribe will be completely wiped out. One of the extreme evil tribe's origins shouted. He was Emo Sha's elder. After waking up and learning about what had happened to Emo Sha, he was furious and wanted to kill Lu Ming. In fact, at least half of the extreme evil tribe's origins wanted to kill Lu Ming. After all, Lu Ming had killed his way to the extreme evil tribe and defeated the 7 almighty gods of the extreme evil tribe. He had humiliated the extreme evil tribe. His meaning was clear. If the Azure Divine Realm did not hand over Lu Ming, they would destroy it. The Azure Divine Realm does not accept threats. Humph, you did not even manage to destroy us during the end of the Untainted Era. You can forget about it now. Some of the experts of the Azure Divine Realm replied coldly. The humans of the Azure Divine Realm were not from the Eastern universe. They were descendants of the untainted human tribe. Their bloodline was powerful, and they also had the arrogance of the untainted human tribe. During the Untainted Era, the human tribe was extremely powerful and was the strongest tribe in the untainted universe. Not only that, but they were also famous in the great cosmos of the Yang realm. It was an honor for thousands of races to worship them. Although things weren't the same as in the past, their arrogance still remained in their bones. They wouldn't accept threats, let alone being killed at their doorstep. Who would dare to do that during the Untainted Era? Even the equally powerful demon tribe and Wu people had to lower their heads in front of the human tribe. Moreover, the humans of the Azure Divine Realm did not want to hand over Lu Ming. Although Lu Ming's human tribe bloodline was not high, he was still a pure human tribe. His talent was unimaginably high. He had broken through 5 extreme breakthroughs. Even during the Untainted Era, how many of the human tribe were there? This kind of person had the potential to become a king. Now some of the elders of the Azure Divine Realm saw Lu Ming as the hope of the human tribe. How could they hand over Lu Ming? If you don't hand him over, then we'll kill you. Do you really think you're still a human tribe in the Untainted Era? A bunch of losers struggling at death's door. Kill. The people of the Forbidden Lands were very cold. They were determined to kill Lu Ming. Since the Tsangqing Immortal Realm did not cooperate, they would kill him. There was no need for the human race to remain in the primitive universe. The 8 great forbidden grounds immediately made their moves. With more than 800 origins attacking at the same time, the scene was too terrifying. This part of the void was directly blasted apart, returning to primal chaos. But in the end, the Forbidden Lands were disappointed. They discovered that they couldn't break open the entrance to the Azure Divine Realm. The entrances of the Ashen Blue Godly Realm were protected by powerful forbidding formations. The forbidding formations did not even budge when more than 800 origin forces were working together. The experts of the 8 great forbidden lands stopped and retreated with gloomy expressions. Legend has it that the Azure Divine Realm was originally sealed by a powerful seal, and it was impossible to enter or leave. It seems like it's true. There's a powerful seal at the entrance. Someone said. The humans in the Azure Divine Realm heaved a sigh of relief. Indeed, there was a terrifying seal in the Azure Divine Realm. In the past, even they couldn't get out of it. It was even more difficult for outsiders to get in. Later on, it was Mulan who brought a strange gem that opened the seal. But there were still remnants of the seal at the entrances. It would be extremely difficult for outsiders to break in unless the people of the Azure Divine Realm opened it from the inside. It seems like the Azure Divine Realm really wants to be destroyed. Although we can't break it open, once the origin tribulation is over, we'll send out all our experts. When that time comes, do you think you can stop the Tao Lords and Taoists? An origin force from the extreme evil race said coldly. That's right. Hand over Lu Ming as soon as possible, and this matter will have nothing to do with you. Yuan Sanji also said. Although the people of the Azure Divine Realm looked solemn, they were still unmoved. If they refused to hand over Lu Ming, do they think that we have no other choice? We just have to send people to block them in the Azure Divine Realm, so that they won't have the chance encounter in the primitive universe. Let's see how long they can tolerate this. Ye Immortal suggested. Good idea. Let's do that. The experts of the Forbidden Lands nodded. Then the experts of the 8 Forbidden Lands stood guard outside, blocking the entrance of the Azure Divine Realm, so that the people of the Azure Divine Realm couldn't enter. Damn it! Many people in the Azure Divine Realm were furious. The universe was full of opportunities. There were many relics, sacred mountains, cave dwellings and so on from the Eldritch continent. The major forces each occupied a vast area, and there were people exploring it all the time. The Azure Divine Realm was the same. Now that it was blocked, how could they explore the relics and obtain the opportunities? They could only watch as the opportunities were taken away by others. But there was nothing they could do. They could defend with the restrictions of the Azure Divine Realm, but it wasn't enough to attack. Moreover, once they sent their experts to attack, they would attract more experts from the 8 Forbidden Lands. The Azure Divine Realm alone was no match for the 8 Forbidden Lands. Time passed day by day. The people of the Azure Divine Realm had no choice but to stay in the Azure Divine Realm and couldn't leave. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. The experts of the 8 tribes guarding outside the Azure Divine Realm had decreased by a lot. There were only a few hundred of them. They couldn't stay here all year round as they needed to send people to explore the relics. However, a few hundred origins were enough to guard the Azure Divine Realm. Once there was any movement in the Azure Divine Realm, the others could quickly come to their aid. After being blocked for a year, the Azure Divine Realm was turbulent, and there were all kinds of voices that were unfavorable to Lu Ming. After all, people were different. Some supported Lu Ming while others didn't. Are we going to be blocked here for the rest of our lives and watch the opportunities being taken away by the Forbidden Lands? Are we going to watch them become stronger and stronger while we become weaker? The human race was so powerful in the past. I can't believe we've fallen to such a state. It's all Lu Ming's fault. He's just a divine master, but he overestimated himself. He offended the 8 Forbidden Lands at the same time. He went into hiding, but we were implicated because of him. That's right. In my opinion, we should just hand over Lu Ming. The 8 tribes of the Forbidden Lands have said that as long as we hand over Lu Ming, they will coexist peacefully with us. It's completely worth exchanging Lu Ming for the entire Azure Divine Realm. Yes, hand over Lu Ming. Many people discussed secretly and made such arguments. Of course, there were also many people who opposed handing over Lu Ming and were unwilling to compromise. The two sides argued endlessly, and as time went on, the argument became worse and worse. Towards the end, many reciprocity experts had joined in. In the blink of an eye, another 2 years had passed. The 8 Forbidden Lands had surrounded the Azure Divine Realm for 3 years. The Azure Divine Realm was turbulent, and there were more and more people who supported handing over Lu Ming. Chapter 5083. Lu Ming naturally knew that the 8 Great Forbidden Lands had besieged the Azure Divine Realm. Although he was furious, there was nothing he could do. His strength was still too weak. If he took the initiative to kill his way out, he would undoubtedly be walking into a trap. He urgently needed to break through to the Origin Realm. However, after 3 years of cultivation, he clearly felt that his foundation was very stable, and there were almost no flaws. However, whenever he had the thought of breaking through to the origin realm, a terrifying sense of crisis would come. He had a feeling that if he chose to break through to the origin realm, he would definitely die. What was going on? Lu Ming couldn't figure it out. Was there something missing? Was there a fatal flaw in his body? Besides this, he really couldn't think of any other reason. If he couldn't break through to the origin realm, he wouldn't be able to fight against the 8 great forbidden lands. Right, there's still the Human King's broken sword. If I can control the Human King's broken sword, the 8 great forbidden lands will all be useless. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then his spiritual sense entered his sea of consciousness. The Human King's broken sword floated in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness for 3 years, motionless and without any abnormalities, as if it had never moved. Lu Ming tried to control the Human King's broken sword, but found that it was like an ancient divine mountain, motionless. Let's refine it first. Lu Ming used his spiritual sense to entangle the Human King's broken sword, and began to refine it. However, after a while Lu Ming gave up. There was no progress. Little King Xianyuan, he gave me the Human King's broken sword. It's impossible that I can't refine it. Is it because my cultivation is too low? Lu Ming pondered. In fact, until now he still felt puzzled as to why little King Xianyuan, he gave him the Human King's broken sword. DK's escape had something to do with him, although he didn't do it on purpose. Originally, he thought that Xianyuan Yi would kill him. At that time, he really felt the killing intent from Xianyuan Yi. But in the blink of an eye, Xianyuan Yi changed his mind. Not only did he not kill him, he even gave the Human King's broken sword to Lu Ming. Lu Ming couldn't figure it out at all. Did he think that his talent was unparalleled, and that he would rise in the future and be invincible in the world? Lu Ming shook his head. He was not that narcissistic. Although his talent was not bad, in the eyes of people like Xianyuan Yi, it was probably nothing. In the era of the desolate continent, although there were few existences who had broken through 5 times, there should be quite a few of them over the years. However, there were only a few who could become human kings. The little human king had an extremely high possibility of becoming the second human king Xianyuan. The talent of such a person was unimaginable. Even Lu Ming himself did not believe that he would give the Human King's sword to Lu Ming because of his talent. Then what was the reason? This question had troubled Lu Ming for 3 years, but he still couldn't figure it out. However, since the junior Human King had given the Human King's broken sword to Lu Ming, it shouldn't be impossible for him to refine it. It should be of some use. Let's try dripping a drop of blood first. Lu Ming intended to start with the most ancient and traditional method. He first forced out a drop of blood, and then wrapped it with the forbidden origin power. It flew into his sea of consciousness and dripped onto the Human King's broken sword. When the blood dripped onto the broken sword, it immediately absorbed the blood. In the next moment, a faint layer of bloody light appeared on the surface of the broken sword. At this moment, Lu Ming had a feeling that he had made a connection with the broken sword. Yes, I didn't expect it to be so simple. Lu Ming was slightly stunned at first, and then he was overjoyed. Then, Lu Ming wrapped the broken sword with his spiritual sense, and began to refine it. This time, Lu Ming indeed felt that he had made great progress. Although this progress was very slow, and it would probably take some time to refine the broken sword. However, with some time he would definitely be able to refine it. At that time, Lu Ming would be able to control the broken sword. Lu Ming was looking forward to it. Outside the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm, there were still close to 400 origins guarding it. There were people from the 8 great forbidden lands, and the Yi Immortal was among them. The Ashen Azure Immortal Realm has been divided into 2 factions, and there are conflicts. Very good. If this continues, I'm afraid that we won't have to do anything. Someone will voluntarily hand over Lu Ming. It's best if there's another internal conflict in the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm. A big battle will save us the trouble of doing anything. Some of the creatures from the Forbidden Lands were chatting. I think we can add fuel to the fire. At this moment, the Yi Immortal interrupted. Add fuel? How? Someone looked at the Yi Immortal. Although the Yi Immortal was only in the Divine Master realm, some people didn't dare to underestimate him. They all knew that the Yi Immortal was resourceful and scheming. Aren't there many people scattered in the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm? If we work together and capture all of them, we can kill some of them in front of the people in the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm and threaten them to hand over Lu Ming. Don't you think this will aggravate their conflict? The Yi Immortal said casually, as if he was talking about a trivial matter. How ruthless. Many of the experts from the 8 Great Forbidden Lands muttered. This move was too ruthless. However, it would definitely be effective. Wonderful, wonderful. Let's use this move then. Spread the news. Send people to capture the humans in the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm. The 5 Great Forbidden Lands in the Western Cosmos spread the news. The 3 Forbidden Lands in the Eastern Cosmos didn't have many people, so they couldn't spare more people. Immediately, the Forbidden Lands took action. Many of the people in the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm were captured and brought out of the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm. It's Yi. He's been captured. And Han Zijian. Damn it. He's also fallen into the hands of the 8 Great Forbidden Lands. The people guarding the entrance of the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm were in chaos. Moreover, the news quickly spread to every corner of the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm. Countless people rushed to the entrance. There were at least a few hundred people in the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm. There were God Emperors, Divine Masters, and Origin Realm cultivators. Their cultivation had obviously been sealed. They knelt in the void in a row. Damn it. Many people were furious. They couldn't wait to kill their way out. People of the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm, listen up. If you want to save these people, hand over Lu Ming. I'll give you 3 days to consider. After 3 days, these people will all die. Yuan Sanji's cold voice spread everywhere. That's right. If you still don't hand him over, it's fine. There's still the next batch. There are at least tens of thousands of people in the Ashen Azure Immortal Realm scattered across the cosmos. He will kill them all. An elder from the extreme evil race sneered. He was Mo Sha's uncle. Although he wasn't young, his battle strength was terrifying. Although he wasn't a peerless genius, he had comprehended his own Genesis art through the accumulation of experience over a long period of time. Moreover, he had once obtained a great opportunity that allowed his Genesis root to evolve to the mid-grade. After breaking through to the Origin Realm, the grade of one's Genesis root wouldn't remain unchanged. There was a chance to improve it. However, the probability was very small and the difficulty was very high. Without a great opportunity, there was no need to even think about it. However, there were some people who weren't very talented but obtained great opportunities that allowed their Genesis root to evolve. Mo Sha's uncle belonged to this category. Chapter 5084. The Tsangqing Divine Realm was in chaos. Those who didn't support handing over Lu Ming were shaken. That was because many of their family members were still outside. Hand over Lu Ming in exchange for everyone's safety. That's right. Although Lu Ming is talented, he doesn't know when to stop. He will die sooner or later. It's useless no matter how talented he is. That's right. No matter how talented he is, it's useless if he can't grow. We can't let so many people die because of Lu Ming. Many people shouted. More and more people supported handing over Lu Ming. Mulans and Huang Ling became more anxious when they heard those voices. The human race is weak. Right now Lu Ming is our only chance. If he grows up, the human race will be able to rise. Otherwise, even if we are struggling at death's door, it is only a matter of time before we are wiped out by the various forbidden lands. We can only have a future if we protect Lu Ming now. Those were the people who supported protecting Lu Ming. Both sides had their own opinions, and the argument was getting more and more intense. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. They are really stubborn. Then kill them. Kill them until they are terrified. Outside the Tsangqing Divine Realm, Yuan Sanji ordered coldly. Kill. Some people shouted. Light flashed and heads flew. Blood splattered in the void. Hundreds of people in the Tsangqing Divine Realm were killed. Ah, damn it. Big brother. Martial uncle. Many people shouted with bloodshot eyes. Continue to bring people. Outside the Tsangqing Divine Realm, someone shouted coldly. Then hundreds of people from the Tsangqing Divine Realm were brought over. Their cultivation was also sealed and they knelt in the void. I'll give you 3 more days. If you don't hand over Lu Ming in 3 days, I'll kill another group. Mo Shaw's uncle's voice was extremely cold, and his eyes were filled with evil light. Ah, senior sister is inside. My third brother is inside too. Hand over Lu Ming. Hand over Lu Ming. We can't let more people die in vain. I'm going to capture Lu Ming and hand him over. Anyone who tries to stop me will be my mortal enemy. A few people roared loudly. The two groups confronted each other, and the smell of gunpowder filled the air. It seemed like a great battle was about to erupt. I suggest that we consult our primogenitor. If he says we should hand it over, we'll hand it over. If he doesn't, we won't hand it over. Someone suggested. All right, let's go ask the primogenitor. The people of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm agreed, and sent some representatives in a certain direction. Although it was a great tribulation of reciprocity right now, all those above mid-reciprocity had to seal their bodies and not come out. However, although some of the top experts had sealed their physical bodies, their consciousness could still be revealed. For example, didn't the primogenitor of the quasi-saint race show his consciousness back then? The ancient and powerful progenitors of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm sealed their bodies, but their consciousnesses could still be revealed. Soon, the news spread throughout the Azure Divine Realm. The patriarchs of the Azure Divine Realm wanted to protect Lu Ming. Why? Many people were unwilling, but no one dared to go against the wishes of the primogenitors. Damn it! The 8 clans of the Forbidden Lands should all die. Lu Ming roared in a low voice. Although he was in seclusion, he still had a portion of his spiritual consciousness outside to pay attention to everything outside. In fact, Lu Ming knew what was happening outside. Seeing hundreds of people being killed, with heads rolling and blood splattering in the void, Lu Ming was incomparably furious, and his killing intent was incomparably strong. In particular, the intentions of the Azure Divine Realm's primogenitors made Lu Ming feel a little guilty. All of this happened because of him. He couldn't wait to kill his way out and solve all of this. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Lu Ming felt that the Human King's broken sword was about to be refined. Just a little bit more, like a layer of paper that could be completely refined at any time. Soon another 2 days passed. Many people became more and more anxious. Because once the 3rd day was up, hundreds of people would be killed again. Lu Ming, if you're a man, stand out yourself. Do you have a conscience if you want others to die for you? Someone roared. They didn't dare to go against the will of the primogenitors, and didn't dare to capture Lu Ming, but they wanted to force Lu Ming to take the initiative to go out. In the blink of an eye, another half a day passed. Suddenly, a terrifying sword chi spread out from Lu Ming's place of seclusion, but it was immediately withdrawn and not many people sensed it. It's done. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. After such a long time, Lu Ming finally refined the Human King's broken sword. With a thought, the Human King's broken sword flew out from Lu Ming's sea of consciousness and appeared in Lu Ming's hand, letting out a soft sword hum. At the same time, Lu Ming felt that the remaining 1/5 of the sword contained a terrifying and boundless energy. Lu Ming had a feeling that if he could detonate this energy, even those who were at the peak of origin would be killed in seconds. However, Lu Ming was soon disappointed. He couldn't use this energy at all. It was like a silent sea, unmoving and unmoving. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't touch it. Lu Ming understood that this was because his cultivation was too low. It was like an ant holding a divine sword. He couldn't lift it at all, nor could he use the power of the divine sword. Lu Ming was now facing such a predicament. However, it wasn't that he couldn't use the Human King's broken sword at all. Lu Ming discovered that there were densely packed runes at the bottom of the sword hilt. These runes were intertwined to form a complicated array. This formation was constantly absorbing energy from the outside world and accumulating it in the sword hilt. Lu Ming found that he could use this energy. He circulated the forbidden origin energy and poured it into the sword hilt, drawing this energy. Immediately, a strand of sword chi appeared on the sword. Whoosh! Lu Ming swung the sword, and a crack was immediately cut open in the void. What a strong power! With this power, it's as easy as flipping one's hand. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The Human King's broken sword didn't disappoint him. He couldn't draw the vast ocean-like energy in the sword, but he could use the energy in the sword hilt. Although this energy couldn't be compared to the energy in the sword, It was enough for Lu Ming. The 8 clans of the forbidden area, it's time to settle the score. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He then ended his seclusion and strode out. Junior brother Lu Ming. Lu Ming. Seeing Lu Ming, Mullins and Huang Ling immediately walked over with concern. Senior sister, Huang Ling, wait for me here. I'll be back soon. Lu Ming smiled. Junior brother, are you going to face the 8 clans of the forbidden area? That's very dangerous. Mullins's expression changed. Don't worry, I won't joke with my life. I've already refined the Human King's broken sword. Lu Ming informed. He didn't hide the fact that the Human King's sword was broken from Mullins and Huang Ling. He believed that they wouldn't tell anyone. You've refined it? Mullins and Huang Ling were overjoyed. Yes, so don't worry, I can protect myself. Lu Ming said. Junior brother, I'll go out with you. I'll go out with you too. Mullins and Huang Ling said. Obviously, they were still a little worried. Chapter 5085. Lu Ming pondered for a moment before agreeing to let Mullins and Huang Ling follow him. Most importantly, he was confident that the 2 of them would be fine. Otherwise, he would never let them follow him. The 3 of them rushed toward an exit. It's Lu Ming. Lu Ming has come out. It seems like he can't sit still anymore. He wants to go out. At least he still has some conscience. Conscience my ass. Why didn't he come out earlier? He caused my senior brother's death. He's just a coward. Lu Ming's appearance caused a commotion among the people of the Azure Divine Realm. Many people directly rushed toward Lu Ming. Brother Lu, you don't have to go out. The Azure Divine Realm can protect you. A bearded youth said. He was Fu Yuan, who had the bloodline of the Sacred Light Human King. That's right. The primogenitors have all said that they will protect you. You can just stay here at ease. The 8 clans can't barge in. Another peerless genius, Zhao Wuji, who had broken through 3 times, said. What do you mean protect him? If you want to protect him, you have to sacrifice others. Hundreds of people have already been killed, and hundreds more are in danger now. If Lu Ming has any conscience, he should go out and surrender himself. Some people said coldly, hoping that Lu Ming would go out voluntarily. Lu Ming casually glanced at these people and did not say anything. Most of these people had family and friends outside, so it was inevitable that they would be worried. Humans were all selfish. Brother Fu, Brother Zhao, thank you for your good intentions, but Lu Ming does not want to implicate others. I will deal with my own matters. Lu Ming cupped his fists at Fu Yuan and Zhao Wuji before continuing on with Huang Ling and Mullins. Wait. However, a few people blocked Lu Ming's path. There were a total of 7 people. 5 of them were Origin Realm experts. Some were old, and some were middle-aged. There were also 2 young men. Lu Ming, you can go out, but Miss Mullins can't go with you. You should know that she is the disciple of a big shot. If something happens to her, we won't be able to account for it. An old man said. Lu Ming's brows furrowed slightly. Although the other party's meaning was for the good of Mullins, and didn't want anything to happen to Mullins, his tone was very bad. He spoke in a commanding tone to Lu Ming. Where I want to go, no one can stop me. Mullins said. Miss Mullins, we're doing this for your own good. Lu Ming is someone who thinks he's above everyone else just because he has some strength. You'll only bring harm to yourself if you follow him. It's better to choose a good partner early, a young man said. That's right. This young lady should stay as well. There's no need for her to die with Lu Ming. Another young man added. He looked at Huang Ling with a burning gaze. Lu Ming understood that these people were not doing this for Mullins and Huang Ling. They clearly had ulterior motives. They wanted to use this reason to stop the 2 girls from going with Lu Ming. Piss off. Lu Ming's expression became ugly after he thought this through. He directly told them to piss off. The faces of the reciprocity experts all became ugly. They were seniors after all, yet Lu Ming had actually told them to piss off. How preposterous. Lu Ming, do you know how to respect your master? Just because you have some talent, you can do whatever you want. No wonder you offend people everywhere you go. The old man began to lecture him sternly. If you don't piss off, I'll tell you to piss off yourself. Lu Ming directly interrupted him. The war god's spear appeared, and a powerful presence erupted. pressing towards the old man. At the same time, the war god's spear swept out. Everyone was shocked. They used their full strength, but they were forced back. Why, you're hopeless. The old man was furious. Kill. Lu Ming suddenly roared. His body swelled as he used a genesis technique. The war god's spear pressed down again. Boom. A berserk aura erupted, and the 5 Origin Realm experts were forced back. 4 of them even vomited blood. The old man was the strongest and had comprehended a genesis technique, but even he could not withstand the attack. He was forced back 10,000 meters, his face pale. If you say another word, I'll kill all of you. Lu Ming's voice was chilling, and killing intent emerged. The old man's body turned cold, as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Although he was furious, he did not dare to utter a single word. Only after personally clashing with Lu Ming did they understand how terrifying Lu Ming's battle prowess was. It was so strong that it made them shiver in fear. They were all Origin Realm experts, but they felt like they would be instantly killed by a godmaster. It was simply unbelievable. He's crazy. Lu Ming has already gone crazy. He knows he'll definitely die if he goes out, so he's acting even more crazily. We can't offend him now. He won't live for long anyway. It's just a pity that the 2 of them are so talented. If only they were a match for Lu San and Lu Da. Several Origin Realm experts secretly communicated with each other. Lu San and Lu Da were naturally referring to the 2 young men. After repelling a few Origin Realm experts, Lu Ming grabbed the 2 young men in his hand. The 2 young men, Lu Da and Lu San, screamed in fear. In front of Lu Ming, they were like 2 chicks, unable to resist. Just the 2 of you? Toads want to eat swan meat? Go back and look in the mirror. Lu Ming sneered and casually threw Lu Da and Lu San to the ground, creating 2 large pits. They lay there and vomited blood. Then, Lu Ming walked towards the exit with Mulins and Huang Ling without looking back. Damn it, Lu Da roared, but he was very suppressed. He did not dare to shout out loud, fearing that Lu Ming would hear him. He's about to die anyway, and he'll definitely die miserably in the hands of the 8 families of the Forbidden Area. Don't bother with him. Lu San said. What a pity. Lu Ming must have a lot of good things on him. Now the 8 families of the Forbidden Area will benefit. This kid should have left those good things behind before he died. Lu Da said. In fact, many Origin Realm experts of the Tsangqing Divine Realm and Lu Da and Lu San had such thoughts. They thought that since Lu Ming was about to die, he should have left his treasures behind to contribute to others. However, after seeing the fate of Lu Da and Lu San, no one dared to speak out. Lu Ming was not a pushover. Although his cultivation level was only at the Almighty Master Realm, his combat power was ridiculously strong. Among the early-stage Origin Realm cultivators, there were not many who could firmly suppress Lu Ming. No one knew what would happen if Lu Ming went crazy and fought with his life on the line. Moreover, the Origin ancestors of the Tsangqing Divine Realm wanted to protect Lu Ming, so those with ulterior motives would not dare to go too far. Very soon Lu Ming left through an exit and headed outside. Lu Ming, he's out. The people of the 8 families of the Forbidden Area immediately saw Lu Ming. Their eyes shone with cold light, as if they wanted to pierce through Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming actually came out alone, and he even brought 2 women with him. Something is not right. At the back of the crowd, Yi Immortal's expression changed when he saw Lu Ming, Mulins and Huang Ling. He knew Lu Ming very well. Based on his understanding of Lu Ming was not someone who would come out to die so easily. Moreover, he had 2 women with him. Chapter 5086. Yi Immortal could tell at a glance that Mulins and Huang Ling were Lu Ming's confidants. Even if Lu Ming came out to die, he wouldn't bring 2 confidants with him. Could it be that Lu Ming is confident or has some powerful weapon on him? He has been silent all this while, but now he suddenly came out. Could it be that he has been preparing for something? Yi Immortal thought quickly and felt a chill in his heart. He had a bad premonition. He had lived for so many years and even survived the war that destroyed the primeval continent in the previous era, because he was cautious and had a keen sense of danger. Let's go. Yi Immortal didn't inform anyone and retreated silently. He hid on a broken continent far away and watched from afar. Lu Ming and the other 2 soon arrived in front of the people of the 8 races in the Forbidden Grounds. and face the hundreds of origins of the 8 races. Now let them go. Lu Ming said. There were at least a few thousand people in the Ashen Azure Divine Realm who were captured and controlled by the 8 races. Hundreds of them knelt in the void in front of them. They would be killed in half a day's time. At this moment, they heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Lu Ming come out. They would be able to live if Lu Ming came out. Lu Ming, you're finally out. But let me tell you, you're not qualified to negotiate with us. Yuan Sanji sneered. Who are you? Lu Ming glanced at Yuan Sanji indifferently. Yuan Sanji? Yuan Sanji replied. So you're the brother of those trash. I'll remember that. Lu Ming sneered. The trash he was referring to was obviously Yuan Siji, Yuan Wuji and the others. Yuan Siji, Yuan Wuji and the others were also there, and they were furious when they heard that. Lu Ming, you're courting death. Yuan Siji was furious. Lu Ming, don't forget that the people of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm are still in our hands. Don't you want them to die? Yuan Sanji sneered. His light beam hair danced in the wind like a divine sword. It was as if it would pierce out at any moment to take someone's life. I have 13 top-tier source-grade divine herbs here. Lu Ming waved his hand, and stalks of divine herbs appeared in the void. There were a total of 13 stalks, and all of them were top-grade source-grade divine herbs. Lu Ming had sealed them with his taboo origin force. What? Everyone's eyes were glued to the 13 stalks of top-grade divine herbs in front of Lu Ming, almost drooling. 13 stalks of top-notch source-grade divine herbs. That was 13 stalks. Lu Ming actually had 13 top-notch source-grade divine herbs on him. It was simply terrifying. How precious were top-grade soul-grade divine medicines. Even a forbidden land would not have many of them. Yet Lu Ming had so many on him. The eyes of the people from the 8 great forbidden lands burned with desire. They wanted nothing more than to take it for themselves. Lu Ming, bring the elixir over. Third Yuan shouted loudly. Let them go. If you don't let them go, I will destroy these divine herbs. Don't even think about getting a single stalk. Lu Ming said coldly. He wrapped the 13 stalks of divine herbs with his taboo origin force. He could destroy them with just a thought. Yuan Sanji and the others' faces changed. In their opinion, all the treasures on Lu Ming were theirs. They could not allow Lu Ming to destroy them. As for the lives of the people in the Tsongqing Divine Realm, it was nothing to them. However, they couldn't let them go so easily. If they let them go, Lu Ming would definitely die. They would suffer a great loss if he went crazy and destroyed those divine herbs. Lu Ming, give us the divine herbs and we will let them go immediately. Third Yuan shouted. Impossible. Lu Ming refused. Yuan Sanji's face darkened and he wanted to slap Lu Ming to death. He was worried about the top source-level divine herbs in Lu Ming's hands. How about this? You give us half first and we will let them go. You can give us the other half. How about that? Emo Shah's uncle from the extreme evil race said. Sure. Lu Ming immediately waved his hand, and 6 of the top source-level divine herbs flew towards Yuan Sanji. Yuan Sanji was overjoyed. His hair swept out, and was about to wrap around the 6 top source-level divine herbs. But immediately, 7 or 8 figures pounced on Yuan Sanji. They were all elites from the other forbidden lands. How could these people let Yuan Sanji have the divine herbs? They wanted them too. Boom. Boom. These people immediately clashed with one another. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged over 10 moves. Everyone, now is not the time to kill each other. After we kill Lu Ming, we will divide the treasures on him equally. What do you think? Emo Shah's uncle shouted. With a loud bang, the people in the chaotic battle parted. It could be seen that the 6 stalks of divine herbs had fallen into Yuan Sanji's hands. After all, the divine herbs were flying towards Yuan Sanji. Yuan Sanji was the first to make a move and had the upper hand. However, he also paid a heavy price. He was hit and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He was seriously injured. Everyone's gaze fell on Yuan Sanji, making him feel pressured. Yuan Sanji was extremely unhappy, but he forced a smile and said, That's right. I will keep these divine herbs for now. After we kill Lu Ming and get his treasures, we will divide them equally. Okay, let's do that. Okay. The people from the other races nodded. They were not afraid that Yuan Sanji would go back on his word. There were 8 forbidden lands here. If Yuan Sanji dared to go back on his word, the other 7 races would attack him together, and everyone from the primordial light race would die. Yuan Sanji carefully stored the 6 top-notch source-grade divine herbs in his storage ring. Now let them go, Lu Ming said. In his heart, he felt that it was a pity. He gave the 6 top source-level divine herbs to Yuan Sanji, because he wanted to use the treasures to make the races fight among themselves. Unfortunately, these people were old foxes and did not fall for it. However, it did not matter. After they were rescued, a cold murderous intent flashed in the depths of Lu Ming's eyes. Unfortunately, the 8 races of the Forbidden Lands did not see it. Let them go. Let them go. Immediately, the elites of the various races gave the order. Soon the thousands of people in the Ashen Cyan Divine Realm were free. They flew towards the Ashen Cyan Divine Realm and entered through the entrance. They were all relieved that they were safe. Of course, different people had different hearts. Some people thought that Lu Ming had sacrificed himself to save them and were grateful to Lu Ming. However, some people thought that Lu Ming should save them because Lu Ming was the one who had implicated them. Alright, now that they are released, hand over the divine herbs on you. Also, do you have any other divine herbs in your storage ring? It would be best if you hand them over to us as well. Yuan Sanji said. Senior sister, Huang Ling stepped back. Lu Ming ignored Yuan Sanji and whispered to Huang Ling and Mulins. Junior brother, be careful. Lu Ming, be careful. Mulins and Huang Ling warned. Although they knew that Lu Ming was confident, they could not help but worry. Don't worry. Lu Ming smiled and the 2 girls stepped back. The 8 races of the Forbidden Lands and the people in the Ashen Cyan Divine Realm were stunned. What was Lu Ming doing? Chapter 5087. Boom. Lu Ming took a step forward. Forbidden origin power erupted like a volcano. A berserk aura surged forward like a tide. At the same time, the remaining 7 source-grade divine herbs disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming had stored them in his primordial ring. The experts of the 8 clans narrowed their eyes, revealing a cold light. Lu Ming's attitude was very clear. How could they not know what Lu Ming meant? He was unwilling to compromise and wanted to fight them to the death. However, there were hundreds of origin experts here. What could Lu Ming use to fight them to the death? It was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Some people of the Azure Divine Domain, such as Han Yu and Fu Yuan, showed sorrow in their eyes. In their view, Lu Ming knew that he would die, but he was unwilling to die in humiliation. He wanted to die in battle. They wanted to save him, but they did not have the strength. The air was filled with a solemn and stirring atmosphere. Struggling before death? Then let this old man send you on your way. Emo Sha's uncle's gaze was extremely cold. He had promised Emo Sha that he would bring Lu Ming's head back to Emo Sha. Shua. Emo Sha's uncle made his move. He immediately used his killing move, the Hand of Extreme Evil. A giant gray hand the size of a star grabbed at Lu Ming. Its power was extremely terrifying. The energy in the air became chaotic. There was no doubt that Emo Sha's uncle was extremely powerful. He stood at the peak of the early origin realm. He was not weaker than Yuan Sanji. Otherwise, he would not be so confident in facing Lu Ming, who had broken through 5 times. Unfortunately, he encountered Lu Ming. A broken sword suddenly appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Forbidden origin power was poured in, activating the formation on the sword hilt. A strand of energy flowed out. The Human King's broken sword exploded with sword light. A ray of sword light streaked across the universe. Pooh! Emo Sha's uncle's hand was instantly split open. Blood splattered everywhere. Ah! Emo Sha's uncle screamed, his voice filled with fear as he rapidly retreated. However, it was already too late. The sword light was too fast. In just a flash, it had landed on the Desert Sand Tribal Uncle's body. The Desert Sand Tribal Uncle's source-grade armor was torn apart like tofu. At the same time, his source root was also shattered. Emo Sha's uncle's body was split into 2. He floated in the air without any signs of life. What? This scene was beyond everyone's expectations. Not only the people of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm, but also the people of the 8 clans of the Forbidden Grounds. They were all dumbfounded. This scene was too surreal. The Masha uncle, who possessed battle prowess at the peak of early reciprocity, had been slain by Lu Ming as soon as he took action. The situation was completely different from what they had expected. In the next moment, the 8 families of the Forbidden Area felt a chill run down their spines. They couldn't help but take 2 steps back. You've taken my top-notch source-grade divine herb. Next, it's your turn. Lu Ming's gaze was cold as he stared at Yuan Sanji. When Lu Ming's gaze swept past him, Yuan Sanji only felt a gush of cold air rushing from his tailbone to the top of his head. He must have used some kind of secret treasure to launch that attack. It can't be sustained for long. Let's attack together and kill him. Yuan Sanji shouted and took the initiative to attack. Thousands of strands of light shot towards Lu Ming like sharp swords. He also used the martial extreme immortal light. Thousands of strands of light were enveloped by a layer of martial extreme immortal light. At the same time, more than 50 origin source experts of the primordial light clan also attacked together. They all unleashed their strongest attacks. The sky was filled with light beams that enveloped Lu Ming like an inescapable net. The combined attack of more than 50 origin source experts was too terrifying. Even an expert like Yuan Sanji would be smashed to smithereens in an instant. However, Lu Ming was very calm. He didn't dodge or evade. Instead, he used a Genesis art. His body grew to 10 meters tall, and a pair of wings appeared on his back. Then, he slashed out with the broken sword in his hand. Dazzling sword light erupted, illuminating the pitch-black cosmos. The inescapable net of light was split into 2 by the sword light. The wings on Lu Ming's back flashed, and he shot towards Yuan Sanji like a bolt of lightning. Yuan Sanji and the others were stunned. The combined attack of more than 50 origin source experts had been destroyed by Lu Ming in a single move. This was just too shocking. Oh no! Yuan Sanji came back to his senses immediately. Fear engulfed him instantly as he retreated. As he did so, he grabbed the other 2 Origin Realm Yuanguang clan members and pushed them toward Lu Ming. Yuan Sanji's battle prowess had always been great. The 2 Origin Source experts hadn't expected this move from Yuan Sanji and were completely unprepared. They were directly pushed away by Yuan Sanji. Yuan Sanji. Shameless. The 2 Origin Source experts let out heart-wrenching roars. They could only use their full strength to resist, due to their jealousy and fear. However, all of this was futile. With a flash of sword light, their attacks, defenses and even their source-grade divine armors were all split into 2. Moreover, the sword light didn't stop after splitting the 2 origin source experts. It continued towards Yuan Sanji. Yuan Sanji let out a dazzling light. The armor he wore was a top-tier source-grade armor, so he pushed it to the limit. However, with a flash of sword light, a bloody gash appeared between Yuan Sanji's eyebrows. The gash grew larger and larger, extending downwards. In the next moment, blood splattered everywhere as Yuan Sanji's body was split into 2. His eyes were wide open, filled with unwillingness and disbelief. He had died with his eyes wide open. Yes, Yuan Sanji's origin source and soul had been destroyed. He had died on the spot. He had killed 3 people with a single slash. What power! Lu Ming couldn't help but sigh. The power of the Human King's broken sword was truly terrifying. Even a top-tier source-grade armor couldn't withstand it, and had been easily sliced apart. This was only the weakest energy in the sword hilt. Lu Ming couldn't control the most terrifying energy in the depths of the sword. If it were to erupt, who knew how powerful it would be? On an abandoned continent in the distance, Yi Immortal had witnessed the entire process. Even though he had lived for countless years, he couldn't help but tremble at this moment. Confusion, fear, and lingering fear filled his heart. He was really scared. If he had not been more cautious and retreated secretly, he was afraid that Lu Ming would have killed him first. Given his strength, he definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand it. He would have died without a doubt. It's that broken sword. It's all because of that broken sword. Where did that broken sword come from? Why is it so terrifying? Yi Immortal's gaze fell on the broken sword in Lu Ming's hand. There was fear and greed in his eyes. He didn't recognize the Human King's broken sword. Not only him, but the others also didn't recognize it. The only one who had seen the Human King's broken sword was Gu Qian, who was already dead. Although Xianyuan Yi had used the Human King's broken sword to fight Teak, their speed had been too fast. Moreover, in the depths of the universe, the sky was filled with light. The others couldn't see the broken sword in Xianyuan Yi's hand. Chapter 5088. Later on, Xianyuan Yi gave the Human King's broken sword to Lu Ming. It was even faster. It tore through the void and flew into Lu Ming's consciousness. Even Lu Ming himself could not react, let alone the others. Therefore, no one recognized that it was the Human King's broken sword. However, they all knew that the broken sword in Lu Ming's hand was extraordinary. I have to leave first. Otherwise, if Lu Ming finds me, I'll definitely die. Yi Immortal pondered, and then hid even deeper. He planned to find a chance to slip away completely. Lu Ming had killed 3 people with a single strike. This scene was even more shocking than when Lu Ming had killed the Desert Sand Tribe's uncle. More than 50 origins from the Primordial Light clan had surrounded Lu Ming, but Lu Ming had cut through them with a single strike. The impact of killing 3 experts was too great. Many people gasped and felt a chill run down their spines. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and did not stop. He swung his sword again. The sword light exploded and slashed at the surrounding origins from the Primordial Light clan. Puff puff. This time, 5 origins were killed by the sword light. The sword light from the Human King's broken sword was too terrifying. It killed these early-stage origins as if they were chickens. Run! The surrounding origins from the Primordial Light clan were all scared out of their wits. One of them shouted and all of them scattered, fleeing in all directions. Don't be afraid. He's relying on the broken sword. However, it's extremely tiring to control such a powerful weapon. He won't be able to last more than a few moves. Someone from the Extreme Evil clan shouted. That's right. Those who have a joint attack formation, set up a joint attack formation and kill him. An origin from the 9 demonic spider also shouted. Other than the origins from the Primordial Light clan, the other experts did not retreat. Instead, they charged at Lu Ming. After all, they had hundreds of origins, and they even had a joint attack formation. This was not a joint attack formation of the Divine Lord realm, but of the Origin realm. The principle behind a reciprocity battle formation was the same as a God-Lord battle formation. They needed to refine a vessel for the battle formation. However, a reciprocity formation was many times more difficult to forge than a God-Lord formation. The materials required were many times more precious as well. Even in the various forbidden grounds, there were not a lot of reciprocity joint formations. Set up the formation. Without a doubt, the various forbidden grounds all had reciprocity joint formations, and they had begun to cast them down. However, Lu Ming discovered that the 3 of them mostly used joint attack formations. This was clearly different from a Divine Lord's joint attack formation. A Divine Lord's joint attack formation was at least a 5-person joint attack formation. A 3-person joint attack formation was far too weak. However, reciprocity was different. Firstly, a reciprocity formation was extremely difficult to create. The more people there were, the more difficult it would be to refine. Furthermore, even if there were only 3 people at reciprocity, the formation's power would increase by a lot. It would not be as simple as 3 times. There were at least 10 joint attack formations among the various clans, but the ones with the most people were 5-person joint attack formations. There were only 2 of them. The various forbidden grounds naturally possessed even more origin joint attack formations, but they had not brought them. Originally, they had mobilized enough people just to deal with a single Lu Ming. They originally thought that there would be more than enough. Who would bring so many joint attack formations? The experts of the various clans fanned out to surround Lu Ming. Before they had even arrived, they had already launched long-range attacks at Lu Ming. Then let's kill to our heart's content. A cold light flickered through Lu Ming's eyes. It seemed like the 8 clans of the Forbidden Grounds would not let him go. Since they wanted his life, they had to be prepared for him to kill them and make rivers of blood flow. As if it had sensed Lu Ming's will. The Human King's broken sword buzzed and shone brightly. From afar, Lu Ming did not seem to be holding a broken sword, but a divine sword shining with divine light. It was in perfect condition. Lu Ming swung his sword and broke through all the long-range attacks aimed at him. Then, the wings on his back flapped, and his figure shot out like a bolt of lightning. The first to bear the brunt was a three-person joint attack formation from the Extreme Evil clan. The three origins of the Extreme Evil clan formed a joint attack formation. It turned into a blade of Extreme Evil and slashed at Lu Ming. Clang! Lu Ming swung his sword and collided with the blade of Extreme Evil. There was an earth-shattering boom, and the blade of Extreme Evil shook violently. One could clearly see that cracks had appeared on the blade of Extreme Evil. Then with a bang it exploded. After the three had formed the formation, blood spurted from their mouths as they retreated. It was obvious that they had been severely injured. They wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Lu Ming used his Genesis technique, and his speed was extremely fast. In a flash he had caught up with them. Sword light flashed, and the three were killed. After killing the three experts of the Extreme Evil clan, Lu Ming did not stop. He continued to charge forward. Sword light continued to slash out, and screams rose and fell. In an instant, more than 10 origins of the Extreme Evil clan had been killed. The origins of the Extreme Evil clan were terrified, and they scattered. Then Lu Ming rushed toward a 9 demonic spider, and destroyed a joint attack formation. He killed the three people who had formed the formation. Of course, Lu Ming was also hit in the process. Although the Human King's broken sword was extremely powerful, it only increased the attack power. It did not provide Lu Ming with increased speed or stronger defense. There were too many people from the 8 clans in the forbidden area. With hundreds of people attacking together, it could be said that they were densely packed and attacked from all directions. Although Lu Ming could wield the Human King's broken sword and slash through these attacks, there would always be some that he missed. Lu Ming was hit continuously and his body staggered. Even with the top source-grade armor and a layer of protective film, it was useless. He was still injured and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. Kill! Lu Ming was like an injured beast. He roared and his attacks became even more frantic. Puff! Puff! He was like a tiger in a flock of sheep. Anyone who was targeted could not escape. They were all killed on the spot. Although their injuries were getting worse, more than 50 origins had died at Lu Ming's hands in just a few minutes. The experts of the various clans were terrified. When they saw where Lu Ming was rushing, they quickly retreated. Don't be afraid. He's injured. Although his broken sword is powerful, it only has strong attack power. Let's spread out. Don't gather together. Keep a distance from each other and attack from a distance. We can definitely kill him. An elder from the fiend race shouted. Then I'll kill you first. Lu Ming stared at the elder. He flapped his wings and rushed towards the elder. The elder from the malevolent Yin clan was shocked. He turned around and fled. However, Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. With all his might, the distance between him and the elder from the malevolent Yin clan was rapidly closing. Save me, save me. The elder from the fiend race screamed in horror, tears almost flowing out of his eyes. He regretted standing up and shouting just now to attract Lu Ming. Attack. Attacks were constantly bombarding Lu Ming from all directions. Lu Ming's figure flashed, dodging these attacks and slashing out with his sword at the same time. The elder from the fiend race was directly killed without any surprise. Chapter 5089. Kill. After killing the baleful Yin elder, Lu Ming flapped his wings and suddenly turned around. He charged off in another direction. Spurt. Spurt. Blood splattered everywhere as another 2 powerful experts were slain. Blood splattered through the air. However, Lu Ming was struck as well. He was struck by a flash of blade light, which almost pierced through his armor. It tore through his defensive barrier and cut his body in half. Without a doubt, the person who had attacked him was a peak expert on the same level as Yuan Sanji. Moreover, the blade this person used was a peak source-grade weapon. Under the control of a reciprocity expert, it possessed astonishing power. Even Lu Ming's peak source-grade armor would not be enough. It would be cut through. Although he managed to block it in the end, terrifying blade Qi still managed to invade his body and cut into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming could not help but cough up large mouthfuls of blood. Attacked together, Lu Ming's injuries have worsened. He won't be able to last much longer. Someone roared from the side. Die! Lu Ming roared. His black hair fluttered as his killing intent surged. He was like a god of slaughter as he swung his sword backwards. The expert who had attacked Lu Ming was shocked. He rapidly retreated, not daring to face him head-on. However, how could Lu Ming allow him to escape? He flapped his wings and charged towards his opponent even faster than lightning. He rapidly approached him and swung his sword. With a flash of sword light, a head flew into the air. Afterwards, the person's body and genesis root were cut to pieces by the sword light. His soul was wiped out. A peak expert had died. After killing this person, Lu Ming glanced around with a murderous gaze before charging off in a certain direction. He charged towards a few people from the Navy Sea race. This was because they were the ones who had yelled that Lu Ming was injured and attacked him together. Lu Ming had condensed a pair of wings after using his Genesis technique. He was just too fast. There were very few early reciprocity experts who could match him. The Primordial Light race and Baleful Een race were extremely fast as well, but none of the early reciprocity experts could match up to Lu Ming. Oh no! Help! At the sight of Lu Ming dashing toward them, the few experts from the CC clan screamed in horror and fled frantically. However, it was useless. Lu Ming arrived and slashed with his sword, killing the few CCC clan experts. Of course, during this process, hundreds of attacks were directed at Lu Ming, covering almost all directions. No matter how fast Lu Ming was, he was still hit. They were all existences at reciprocity, and they all possessed soul-grade weapons. In other words, any single one of them could pose a fatal threat to Lu Ming. As long as he was hit, Lu Ming's injuries would worsen. Furthermore, some of them were even proficient in soul attacks, such as the Dark Heavens Warriors and the Dark Een race. If it had been anyone else, they would have long succumbed to their injuries and died. However, Lu Ming's life force was extremely tenacious, and his soul was scattered throughout his body's cells. Attacking his soul didn't have much effect on him. He constantly circulated his forbidden origin energy, and all his cells glowed. His injuries rapidly healed, and his battle prowess didn't weaken at all. Lu Ming roared. He was like a wounded beast, but he was also like a god of slaughter. He continued to kill the experts of the 8 races. He would stare at anyone who attacked him and kill them. Before long, another dozen or so origin experts had died at Lu Ming's hands. The people of the 8 races were finally terrified. Lu Ming was like an undying god of war. They couldn't kill him no matter how they tried. As long as they were targeted by Lu Ming, they would definitely die. No one dared to roar out anymore, afraid that they would attract Lu Ming's attention. They didn't even dare to attack, because as soon as they hit Lu Ming would chase after them. How were they supposed to fight like this? Run! No one knew who roared, but the remaining origin experts of the 8 races finally couldn't hold on any longer. They scattered and fled in all directions. However, Lu Ming didn't want to stop here. He continued to chase after the experts of the 8 races with his sword. He had already killed so many people anyway, and his relationship with the 8 races was already irreconcilable. There was no need to show mercy. He would kill to his heart's content, and kill until the other party was terrified. In addition, he felt that the energy in the hilt of the Human King's broken sword was about to be exhausted. Yes, there was a formation at the hilt of the Human King's broken sword that had accumulated a lot of energy. However, after Lu Ming used it continuously, it was almost exhausted. There wasn't much left. Lu Ming wanted to take this opportunity to go on a killing spree. Lu Ming raised his speed to the limit and moved through the void, chasing after the experts of the 8 races of the Forbidden Lands. Moreover, he paid special attention to the 3 Eastern races, the Extreme Evil race, and the 9 Demonic Spider, and chased after these 5 races first. Screams rang out as experts were constantly killed by Lu Ming. However, no one dared to save them. Everyone couldn't even take care of themselves, and fled frantically. The several exits of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were silent. Everyone was petrified. This scene was too legendary. No one had expected things to turn out like this. Lu Ming alone had killed nearly 400 origins, causing them to flee for their lives, leaving behind a trail of corpses. Not only were the exits silent, but the other places of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were also silent. This was because someone had projected the scene of the battle in the air in different places of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. Many people could see it. The Ashen Azure Divine Realm fell into a deathly silence. After a long while, everyone came back, and then there was an uproar. After chasing for more than 10 minutes, Lu Ming finally stopped. This was because there was no way to chase after them. The remaining people had already run far away. With so many people, Lu Ming couldn't chase after them all. It was unrealistic. When he chased after one person, the others could fly very far away. They were all origin experts, and they were fleeing with all their might. Their speed was too fast, and they could travel billions of miles in an instant. After stopping, Lu Ming began to collect the spoils of war. Lu Ming collected the storage pouches and source-level divine weapons of the slain experts. In the end, Lu Ming counted. A total of 102 origin experts had died at Lu Ming's hands. These were all origin experts, and a total of 102 of them had died. It was crazy. This day could be called a day of bloodshed. At the same time, Lu Ming also made a fortune. The storage pouches of 102 origin experts were all in Lu Ming's hands. How many treasures were there in them? A huge amount. Immortal crystals, immortal stones, various refining materials, heavenly treasures, divine medicines, divine pills, and so on. The only thing that Lu Ming felt was a pity were the source-level divine weapons. Among them, more than half of the source-grade divine weapons were destroyed, especially the defense-type source-grade divine weapons. They had been split apart by the Human King's broken sword, becoming damaged divine weapons. This made Lu Ming feel that it was a pity. However, as long as they were slowly repaired, they could still be repaired. Even if they couldn't be repaired, it was the same to give them to Qiuqiu. Qiuqiu wouldn't be short of rations for a long time. In addition to these damaged source-level divine weapons, there were still 36 source-level divine weapons that were not destroyed. They were all offensive source-level divine weapons. Lu Ming smiled. He brought these source-level divine weapons back to the Heaven Destroyer. The Heaven Destroyer's origin experts should be able to have a source-level divine weapon. Chapter 50-90. In his haste, Lu Ming did not count them carefully. He would do it later when he had the time. Junior Lu Ming, are you all right? Mulans flew over and asked with concern. Huang Ling did not speak, but the concern in her eyes could not be dispelled. They had just seen Lu Ming being hit many times and coughing up blood. Those were the attacks of Origin Realm experts using Origin-grade divine weapons. They could penetrate the Milky Way and were extremely powerful. They could not help but be worried. Don't worry, I'm fine. I just need to rest for a while. Let's go back first, Lu Ming said. Afterward, Lu Ming and the other two returned to the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. After returning to the Ashen Azure Divine Realm, Lu Ming returned to his residence and began to recover. However, the Ashen Azure Divine Realm was in an uproar. Some people believed that Lu Ming had done a good job and made a name for the human race, but some people were worried. The 8 clans of the Forbidden Lands were 8 forbidden lands with extremely deep foundations. The strength they possessed was far greater than that. They were afraid that the revenge of the 8 clans would implicate the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. They could imagine that the 8 clans of the Forbidden Lands would not let this matter rest. They would definitely take revenge. Sure enough, after the news of this battle spread, the Forbidden Lands of the various clans were shaken. Afterward, several Forbidden Lands announced that they would take revenge. Moreover, the Ashen Azure Divine Realm sent people out to investigate. They learned that the Forbidden Lands of the various clans would take out various powerful formations and terrifying weapons to kill Lu Ming. After hearing this news, the Ashen Azure Divine Realm could not remain calm. They sent out a message for all the humans outside to return to the Ashen Azure Divine Realm to deal with the upcoming changes. However, a few days later, an even greater change occurred. This was because almost all the cultivators felt the universe tremble. Yes, the universe trembled. No matter where they were, they felt the universe tremble violently at almost the same time. Afterward, all the peak god lords and above felt a different aura. It was as if fresh air had flowed in from the universe. Yes, it was as if the dusty door of a secret room that had been sealed for a long time had been opened. The air outside the secret room flowed in. Ordinary people might not be able to sense it, but those who were at the peak of the Divine Master Realm and above could clearly sense it. Even Lu Ming, who was recuperating in seclusion, could clearly feel it. This aura definitely did not belong to the desolate universe. Furthermore, as time passed, it became stronger and stronger. The universe channel has been opened. Not long after, a piece of news spread across the universe. There were only a few hundred years left until the origin tribulation. The ancestors of the Forbidden Grounds and the progenitors in the Ashen Azure godly realm had sealed their bodies, but their consciousnesses were able to show themselves freely. They were able to tell them many things. The news was spread by the progenitors of the Forbidden Grounds. The various races couldn't remain calm when the universe passage opened. Perhaps powerhouses from other great cosmoses would descend very soon. The various clans' original plan to kill their way into the Tsangqing divine realm and kill Lu Ming had to be put aside for the time being. They had to make preparations to deal with the major event that was about to happen. A few days later, the universe shook again. Another universe passage was opened. Everyone knew that there was more than one universe passage. A storm is coming. Lu Ming sighed. At this time his injuries had already healed. In the endless chaos, the yin-yang universe was located in two directions. If someone could stand at a supreme angle and look down at the endless chaos, they would be able to see that the yin-yang universe was located in two different directions, like the eyes of the yin-yang fish. In the middle of the two universes, there were nearly 70,000 great cosmoses of various sizes. With the middle of the two universes as the dividing line, one side was the yang world, and the other was the yin world. The desolate universe was now located at the intersection of the yang world and the yin world. The Jade Clear Void universe was ranked 10th among the countless universes in the world of the living. It was one rank higher than the primitive universe at its peak. It had been passed down for countless years, and was an incomparably ancient universe. It was extremely prosperous and had an incomparably ancient orthodoxy. Immortals roamed freely and were incomparably powerful. The Jade Clear Palace was the most ancient and most powerful orthodoxy in the Jade Clear Great Cosmos. A figure was sitting cross-legged in a large hall. It was an old man with a sage-like demeanor. He had white hair and a white beard, but his face was ruddy like a young man. It was impossible to tell his exact age. However, if the people of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos were here, they would definitely recognize that this person was the founder of the Jade Clear Palace, the Jade Clear Ancestor. He was a mighty figure who had lived for countless years. In the impression of countless living beings in the Jade Clear Great Cosmos, the Jade Clear Ancestor had been around since the universe was created. Below the hall, many people were kneeling respectfully. They were the top experts of the Jade Clear Palace, and were the overlords of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos. They were characters who could shake the entire Jade Clear Great Cosmos with a stomp of their feet. However, these people were extremely respectful in front of the Jade Clear Ancestor. I have deduced that the desolate void universe has been born. The Jade Clear Ancestor's voice sounded. As soon as he opened his mouth, golden lotuses bloomed everywhere. This was a phenomenon that showed that the Jade Clear Ancestor's cultivation had reached an unbelievable level. The desolate void universe has reappeared. The big shots below the hall were shocked. Back then, the desolate universe was destroyed. The last few experts left the desolate universe and sealed the universe passage, isolating themselves from the world. They left their original universe coordinates and let the desolate universe wander in the endless chaos. How many years has it been? I didn't expect it to reappear. Someone sighed. Back then, countless people died in battle in the desolate universe. There were many immortal Tao figures who died and countless treasures were buried. Now that it has reappeared, it is an opportunity for us. Another person spoke. That's right. Not long ago, I sensed the aura of the desolate universe again. It is at the border between the Yang world and the Yin world. However, the desolate universe is at the end of the Great Tribulation of the origin. It can accommodate early-stage origin existences at most. We can let some juniors train there. Don't some little fellows want to find a universe with the Great Tribulation of the origin to break through? This is a good choice. The Jade Clear Ancestor said. Yes, Ancestor. I will make the arrangements now. At the same time, in the Holy Light Void Great Cosmos, this was also an extremely powerful cosmos. In the Yang World Great Cosmos, It was ranked higher than the Jade Clear Great Cosmos. Some of the big shots in this cosmos had also sensed the reappearance of the desolate Great Cosmos. They had arranged for the younger elites to go to the desolate Great Cosmos. It wasn't just the top 10 cosmoses. There were also terrifying experts in the lower-ranked cosmoses. These people had also sensed the aura of the desolate universe when the universe passage to the desolate universe was opened. At the same time, they also sensed that the desolate universe was under the great tribulation of the origin. The elites of these cosmoses all rushed to the desolate universe. Chapter 5091. In the Yang realm, powerhouses from different universes were constantly rushing to the antediluvian universe. The Yin world was the same. When the passage to the antediluvian universe opened, the powerhouses of the Yin world also sensed the aura of the antediluvian universe, and sent a large number of elites to the antediluvian universe to seek opportunities. Among them, there was no lack of monstrous figures. Of course, the highest cultivation among these people was only early reciprocity. Under the origin tribulation, the powerhouses of the outerverse could not enter. Once they entered, they would also be suppressed by the origin tribulation and die. For a time, the winds and clouds gathered in the antediluvian universe. In a certain desolate region of the antediluvian universe, there were fragments of continents everywhere. There were even remnants of stars and the ruins of the heavenly river. Moreover, it was deathly silent. There was no life, no antediluvian chi, and no living beings. Even cultivators could not survive here for long. Outside the desolate region, chaotic chi surged, and within the surging chaotic chi, there was clearly a path that extended into the depths of the chaos. This was the universal passage. Rumble. Suddenly, a violent rumble came from the depths of the chaos. The chaotic chi surged violently, and then a bronze warship sailed out from the depths of the chaos along the passage. The bronze warship looked very ancient, and was enveloped by a layer of light. Some living beings could be seen standing on the deck of the warship. These living beings were all in human form. It was unknown whether they had taken human form, or were born in human form. Is this the antediluvian void universe? Legend has it that immortals roam freely. It is also my place of opportunity. A handsome young man's eyes flickered with a sharp light. He had an extraordinary bearing. There is a terrifying pressure in the unseen world. Is this the origin tribulation? Very well, I will break through reciprocity under the origin tribulation, and complete my path of invincibility. Another young man was even more confident. The warship suddenly shone, and the space was torn apart. The warship then entered the spatial rift, and when it reappeared, it was already far away. Its speed was unbelievably fast, countless times faster than a reciprocity cultivator flying at full speed. Not long after the bronze warship left, the chaotic chi outside the universal passage surged again, and a flickering silver pagoda flew out. Strands of light fell from the pagoda, separating the surrounding chaotic chi. The pagoda had 9 floors, and figures could be seen on each floor. The pagoda also shattered space in a flash. After the pagoda flew away for a while, another battle sword broke through the chaos and flew over. The battle sword was huge and shrouded in sword light. A large number of figures could be seen standing in the sword light. On the other side of the wasteland of the universe, there was also a universe passage. Roar. Suddenly, a roar came from the depths of the universe passage, shaking the chaotic energy. Then a huge creature flew out. This was a bone dragon. At the very least, it looked very similar to the dragons of the primitive universe. Its body was slender and huge, like a mountain range. However, this bone dragon had a pair of wings. Its wings were also made of bone. It looked like a divine dragon with a pair of wings, but its aura was exceptionally terrifying. A large number of figures stood on the back of the bone dragon. Around these figures Inchi rolled. It was extremely cold, as if it could freeze the void of the universe. After the skeletal dragon appeared, it tore through space and left. After the bone dragon left, another powerhouse rushed over with the Yin River. Within the Yin River, there were also a large number of experts. It had been several months since the battle between Lu Ming and the 8 races of the Forbidden Grounds. During this time, Lu Ming had been in seclusion in the Azure Divine Realm, focusing on polishing himself. He tried his best to make himself perfect, so that he could break through to reciprocity. At the same time, the human king's broken sword was slowly absorbing the energy of the outside world to recover. That's right, a few months ago, Lu Ming had killed 102 reciprocity experts in the battle with the 8 races of the Forbidden Grounds. However, the energy in the hilt of the human king's broken sword had almost been completely exhausted. However, the formation in the hilt could constantly absorb the energy of the outside world to recover. However, it was not fast. It would probably take a long time for it to fully recover. It could only be said that the human king's broken sword could only be used at critical moments. It could not be used without limit. This made Lu Ming feel even more pressure. He desperately wanted to break through to reciprocity. However, every time he was about to break through to reciprocity, he would vaguely feel a great danger, causing him to shiver. This feeling was too real. It was as if he really broke through, he would definitely die. Lu Ming could not explain what was going on. He could only constantly polish himself. At this moment, with a thought, a transmission jade talisman appeared. It was a message from Mulan's. The people of the Outerverse have finally descended. With a sweep of his spiritual sense, Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. Have the people of the Outerverse finally descended? Lu Ming muttered. Mulan's transmission briefly introduced the current situation of the universe. The powerhouses of the Outerverse had descended. Their numbers were astonishing, and they came from many different great cosmoses. It was difficult to say exactly how many great cosmoses had come. As soon as these people entered, they started a bloody conflict with the various races. This was because the main goal of the Outerverse descent was the ruins, and hidden places of the antediluvian universe. These places were often buried with a large number of treasures left behind from the previous era. The various Forbidden Grounds goals were also these treasures. Naturally, there would be conflict. However, the result was that the various Forbidden Grounds suffered a great loss. Although the strongest of the Outerverse powerhouses were only at early-stage reciprocity, their numbers were astonishing. They also had various joint attack formations. Some great cosmoses even brought terrifying killing weapons. Even the various Forbidden Grounds did not dare to face them head-on. They had to give up many ruins and hidden places. Of course, the various Forbidden Grounds could not be bothered to deal with Lu Ming. In short, during this period, the antediluvian universe was in chaos. In order to compete for the ruins and hidden places, the Outerverse powerhouses not only clashed with the various Forbidden Grounds, but also with the Outerverse. Bloodshed was endless. This was because these beings came from different universes, even from the Yin realm and the Yang realm. There was no need to say much about the Yin realm and the Yang realm. They had been enemies since ancient times, and there were constant battles. Even the great cosmoses of the Yin realm and the Yang realm were competitors. It was easy for war to break out. In the void outside the land of extreme evil, a huge bone dragon appeared, making the extreme evil tribe feel as if they were facing a great enemy. On the bone dragon, a group of people looked at the land of extreme evil. Among them, there was a golden skeleton with golden flames dancing in its eye sockets. Its aura was extremely shocking. Beside it, there were other skeletons of various types. There were humanoid skeletons and beast-type skeletons, but they were all very respectful to this golden skeleton. The golden skeleton was a top-notch freak of their great cosmos. Chapter 5092. The legendary nefarious race is actually living here. I didn't expect it. The golden skeleton said. Their voices came out with the vibration of their soul fire. It was no different from other creatures speaking. Indeed, legend has it that countless years ago, the nefarious race was also a big race in the underworld. Later, the king of the race led the army of the race to a certain place and never returned. The nefarious race also declined. Now it seems that the nefarious race came to conquer the primitive universe back then. A being that looked like a dog's skeleton said. Not only that, but I also heard that the 9 demonic spider, the dark sky warriors, the dark sky vine race, the primordial light race, the baleful Een race, the ice fire race, and the blue sea race were all big races in the underworld. Almost at the same time as the nefarious race, the kings of these races led an army to conquer a certain place, and then disappeared together. It seems that they all came to the primitive universe. Yes, it's not just these 8 races. At that time, at least 20 big races disappeared together. The other skeletons were discussing. Now it seems that these big races came to attack the primitive universe at the same time. But according to the time, the primitive universe was not strong enough at that time. Its ranking in the world of the living was far from the 11th place. It was far from being as powerful as the later ones. Why did so many big races attack the primitive universe at the same time? And it seems that they failed. Otherwise, why would the primitive universe become more prosperous later on? The golden skeleton asked. I'm not sure. It seems to involve an important matter, but it's hard to say now. The dog skeleton said. Logically speaking, the primitive universe was far from being powerful back then. There weren't many top powerhouses. More than 20 royal races attacked the primitive universe together. How could they fail? Moreover, the passage to the primitive universe was not sealed at that time. Even if the royal races failed, why didn't they leave? Why did they live in the primitive universe and become the so-called forbidden area of the primitive universe? The golden skeleton continued. Young master, I really don't know these. Unless it's a big shot of that era, perhaps he or she knows some secrets. Or we can ask the people of the nefarious race and the baleful Een race. The people of these races don't seem to be from this era. They were sealed a long time ago. The dog skeleton said. Yeah, let's go. Let's leave this place. In the depths of this place, there are terrifying existences that we can't deal with. Let's go to other places and capture a few people to ask. The golden skeleton said. There were many who had the same question as them. This was because the 8 clans of the Forbidden Area used to be the royal clans of the Netherworld countless years ago. Any royal race was famous in the 30,000 great cosmoses of the Een world. However, back then, more than 20 royal races attacked a certain place together and disappeared together. At that time, it caused a huge uproar. Ever since the main forces of those clans disappeared, those clans started to decline and were replaced by other royal clans. Who would have thought that these races would be in the Your Wilds universe? And now there were only 8 clans left. Many people wanted to know what had happened back then. They naturally did not dare to attack the headquarters of the various forbidden lands. Instead, they secretly captured the people of the various forbidden lands and interrogated them. However, the results were disappointing. The people of the forbidden lands didn't know the details of what had happened in the past. All they knew was that they had followed their king to attack the Your Wilds universe, and had suffered a crushing defeat. Many kings of the royal races were killed, and their corpses floated on the Your Wilds universe. This shocked the living beings of the Outerverse. Since the kings of a race could be called kings, they were all extremely terrifying existences. They were not kings of the mortal world, but kings of the immortal Tao. Each of them was definitely a pinnacle existence, a figure whose name shook countless great cosmoses. Even such figures were dead. What exactly did they encounter? According to the timeline, the 3 kings of the human race hadn't been born yet in the Your Wilds universe at that time. What exactly did those races encounter? Unfortunately, no one could say for sure. Soon they put down these questions. Fighting for the benefits in front of them was the most important thing. Although many ruins and mystic grounds couldn't be opened yet, and couldn't be entered, the various great cosmoses and orthodoxies were fighting fiercely. They had to occupy them first. In any case, after a few hundred years, the origin tribulation would be over. The true powerhouses of the great cosmoses and orthodoxies would be able to descend and break open these ruins and mystic grounds to obtain the treasures inside. In addition to fighting for the ruins and mystic grounds, there were also battles between young geniuses. Some famous geniuses from the 8 clans of the Forbidden Lands and the human race of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were also challenged. For example, during this period, many young geniuses had come to the Ashen Azure Divine Realm to challenge Fu Yuan, Zhao Wuji and the others. These geniuses of the Outerverse were all astonishingly strong. They had all sorts of amazing techniques and were born with powerful bloodlines. Even though they were all at the 3rd stage of breaking through, the geniuses of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were no match for them. Other than Fu Yuan, who fought to a draw with one person, the others were defeated one by one. Lu Ming was focused on tempering himself in seclusion, and turned a deaf ear to the challenges in the outside world. Even if someone challenged him by name, he ignored it. His current thoughts were all on how to break through to the origin tribulation. A year after Lu Ming's battle with the 8 clans of the Forbidden Lands, a piece of news spread. The #1 genius of the Dark Sky Warriors, Wuxia, had been challenged. Ever since Shi Tianting broke through to the origin tribulation, Wuxia was the only one left in the Your Wilds universe who had broken through 4 times. There was no doubt that the person who challenged Wuxia was also a 4-time 9th stage cultivator. He was a freak from an extremely prosperous great cosmos in the Yang realm called the Great Cosmos of Tianguang. The Great Cosmos of Tianguang was one of the top 100 great cosmoses of the Yang realm. The battle between 2 4-time 9th stage cultivators attracted the interest of countless people, and attracted a large number of spectators. However, Lu Ming remained motionless and continued his seclusion. In the end, news spread that Wuxia had been defeated. The two had exchanged more than 500 moves, but Wuxia was still no match for Lu Ming. Even Lu Ming was moved when he heard the news. Wuxia was as famous as Shi Tianting in the past. It was said that the two had fought more than 10 times, but the outcome had never been decided. Lu Ming was very clear about how strong Shi Tianting was. If not for the home field advantage, Lu Ming might not have been able to defeat Shi Tianting. As for Tianchong, he was also a freak from the great cosmos of Tianguang. He was also suppressed in the desolate universe, but he had still been able to defeat Wuxia despite being suppressed. After defeating Wuxia, Tianchong's confidence and condition reached a peak. Then an even more shocking piece of news spread. Tianchong wanted to break through to the origin realm. Under the great tribulation of the origin realm, the impact on the origin realm shocked countless people. Chapter 5093. Tianchong was a peerless genius from Tianguang Great Cosmos. He had broken through 4 times, and his ambition was higher than the heavens. He had the ambition to become a king, and in Tianguang Great Cosmos, he was practically an era-suppressing figure. He was invincible among his peers. When he learned that the antediluvian universe was at the end of its origin source calamity, he immediately rushed over and prepared to break through. He challenged Wuxia to adjust his condition and boost his confidence. After defeating Wuxia, Tianchong's aura soared, and his condition reached its peak. He was about to break through, and this attracted the attention of many experts. A large number of experts rushed over to where Tianchong was breaking through. Most of these geniuses were from the outer verse. These geniuses all had the ambition to become a king, and they all wanted to break through during the origin source calamity. Watching others break through was undoubtedly a better choice. When Lu Ming heard the news, he was also tempted. He ended his seclusion and headed over to where Tianchong was breaking through. Recently, he felt that his condition was already at its peak. After carefully inspecting his body over 100 times, he felt that there were no flaws or weaknesses. However, every time he wanted to break through a bottleneck and break through, he would feel a great danger. This was a kind of origin source, a manifestation of extremely sharp spiritual perception that could seek fortune and avoid calamity. Lu Ming could not figure out the reason, no matter how much he thought about it. Perhaps he could find the reason by watching others break through. When Lu Ming arrived, there were already mountains and seas of people. The number of living beings here was astonishing. Most of them were from other universes, and most of them were young people. Lu Ming changed his appearance and concealed his aura. He blended into the crowd and secretly observed. He was shocked. These young people all had powerful auras and were peerless geniuses. Lu Ming sensed an aura similar to Shi Tianting's from many of them. Lu Ming was sure that there were quite a few who had broken through 4 times. Lu Ming observed for a while, and found at least 30 geniuses of this level. 30 was a shocking number. In the past, aside from Lu Ming, there were only Shi Tianting and Wuxia in the various forbidden zones. Furthermore, they were not from this era and had been sealed in ancient times. At the scene, there were suspected to be 30 existences who had broken through the 4th time, or perhaps even more. The fact that they had all gathered here was simply too shocking. But from another perspective, this was normal. There were only a few people in a great cosmos who had broken through 4 times. However, these people didn't come from the same great cosmos. They came from different great cosmoses in the Yang realm and the Yin realm. These people were all ambitious and wanted to break through under the great tribulation of the origin. That was why they had rushed to the primitive universe. It could only be said that the territory of the Yin-Yang universe ocean was too large. Even if there was one in each great cosmos, there would be tens of thousands of them. Of course, it was impossible for every great cosmos to produce an elite who had broken through 4 times. This was unrealistic. It was very difficult for weaker great cosmoses to produce an elite who had broken through 4 times. However, he couldn't say that he was 100% sure. Some of the weaker great cosmoses would also have rare monstrous geniuses. They would rise up and become unparalleled powerhouses. They would lead their great cosmoses to rise continuously, and their rankings would skyrocket. Although such examples were rare, they were not unheard of. These young geniuses each stood in a different direction with their own followers. They were like the overlords of their respective regions. Moreover, Lu Ming found that most of these creatures had taken human form. This made Lu Ming feel a little strange. Lu Ming didn't believe that the true forms of these creatures were all in human form. There were probably all kinds of them, but why did they all take human form? Could it be that the human race had such an influence in the universe ocean? Lu Ming didn't quite believe it. At the peak of the primitive universe, it was only ranked 11th in the Yang realm. It had some influence, but it wasn't that great. Could it be that all the creatures thought that the human form was the most beautiful? Lu Ming denied this guess. It wasn't very reliable. Lu Ming reckoned that there must be some inside story that he didn't know. He could only slowly find an opportunity to inquire about it in the future. He disguised himself and blended into the crowd, so he didn't stand out. Even if there were people from the 8 forbidden races here, they wouldn't pay attention to Lu Ming, mainly because there were too many creatures. A few days later, Tianchong began to break through. However, the result shocked everyone. Because in the end, Tianchong failed and died under the origin source tribulation, turning into ashes. Lu Ming discovered that the power of the origin source tribulation this time was much stronger than when Shi Tianting broke through. Although Tianchong was extremely talented and powerful, stronger than Shi Tianting and Wu Ju of the same realm, he still couldn't withstand it. His unwilling roar shook the void of the universe, but in the end, it was useless and he turned into ashes. Some of Tianchong's protectors were anxious and wanted to save him, but they also died under the origin source tribulation. The scene fell silent. This scene was out of everyone's expectations. It was like a bucket of cold water being poured over the heads of those ambitious geniuses. They knew very well how strong Tianchong was. When he was fighting with all his strength just now, he had displayed his strength to the extreme. Whether it was his physical body or soul, they had both reached a peak. Even though they were also at the 4th level of the extreme break, some people felt that they were inferior to Tianchong. If Tianchong was defeated, how could they succeed? Breaking through under the origin source tribulation was so difficult? No, when Shi Tianting broke through, the power of the origin source tribulation was far from this strong. Why is Tianchong's breakthrough so powerful? Someone exclaimed. Lu Ming glanced around and found that it was the #1 genius of the nefarious tribe, Evil Cicada. Evil Cicada had seen Shi Tianting break through. Among the people present, except for the 8 clans of the Forbidden Area, and some of the people in the Azure Divine Realm, no one from the Outerverse had seen Shi Tianting break through. Someone immediately asked, "What did you say? Are you saying that when Shi Tianting broke through, the suppression of the origin source tribulation wasn't that great?" Yes, it's far from that. Yes, it's far from that. Otherwise, Shi Tianting couldn't have broken through successfully. Several geniuses from the 8 clans of the Forbidden Area spoke one after another. I see. I understand now. It's the Cosmic Sea's Berserk. A youth from the Outerverse said. What's the Cosmic Sea's Berserk? Some people who didn't understand asked. Legend has it that during the origin source tribulation, once someone breaks through to the origin realm under the origin source tribulation, it will cause the Cosmic Sea to go berserk. If someone wants to break through later, the Cosmic Sea will go berserk, and the origin source tribulation's suppression will increase exponentially. It will be difficult for anyone to break through under the origin source tribulation. The person from before explained. Yes, I've also heard of such rumors. Not all origin source tribulations are like this. Many universes experience origin source tribulations, but it's not like this. No one will break through and cause the origin source tribulation suppression to increase. This is only a minority. I didn't expect to encounter it. Another person explained. Chapter 5094. Most of the people present were silent, especially those geniuses who were determined to break through under the great calamity. Their expressions were even more unsightly. If that was the case, wouldn't they have no chance? There were too many benefits to breaking through under the great calamity. Once they broke through, their potential and talent would be greatly improved, and they could greatly expand their future path. It would allow their future cultivation to be faster and more stable, surpassing their peers. How could they miss such a good opportunity? It could be said that Shi Tianting's breakthrough had blocked the path of the others. Why is it like this? Wu Ju's face was pale. If that was the case, wouldn't he have no chance to catch up with Shi Tianting? The gap between him and Shi Tianting was difficult to make up. Only after breaking through to the origin and obtaining other heaven-defying opportunities could he catch up. Lu Ming was the same. His expression wasn't very good either. He finally understood why he would feel a terrible sense of danger every time he tried to break through to the origin source realm. It turned out that it was because of the violent cosmic sea. The pressure of the great calamity was too strong. Even if he tried to break through with his strength, it might be difficult to succeed, and he would end up dying. It wasn't that he still had a flaw, but that he didn't have the conditions. If he broke through alone, there would be no path for others. Is there no chance at all? Someone asked, unwilling to give up. It's not that there's no chance at all. As long as one is strong enough, one can break through all obstacles. Tiancheng failed because he wasn't strong enough. A young man spoke. This person was wearing a white robe and was shrouded in a holy light. Even after seeing Tiancheng fail, his tone and expression were still full of confidence. The peerless genius of the holy light great cosmos, divine Wuxia. The holy light great cosmos, ranked 9th in the Yang realm. Divine Wuxia is also here. I heard that he has broken through 5 times. No wonder he's so confident. Not necessarily. Even if he broke through 5 times, he might not be confident of breaking through successfully. Some people discuss secretly. The holy light great cosmos, ranked 9th in the Yang realm. Lu Ming couldn't help but look at divine Wuxia in shock. To be able to rank in the top 10 among the tens of thousands of great cosmoses in the Yang realm was absolutely terrifying. It must be known that the end of the Your Wilds universe was the most prosperous period in the history of the Your Wilds universe. Even so, it was only ranked 11th in the world of the living. There was still a significant gap between it and 9th place. A universe like that attracted a lot of attention. Many people looked at unparalleled holy. That was especially true of the universes from the underworld. They were all wondering how they could get rid of unparalleled holy. Even in the entire universe ocean, those who broke through 5 limits were top-notch freaks. They had endless potential, and there was hope for them to become kings in the future. Once they grew up, they would become another great enemy of the underworld. This kind of future enemy should be eliminated as soon as possible. However, Divine Wuxia was fearless and still very confident. If you're strong enough, of course you can break through all obstacles. But with your divine peerless strength, you're still far from enough. If you're so capable, why don't you try breaking through? Someone mocked. Many people felt their hearts tremble. How bold of him to mock the divine and unparalleled person to his face. The sacred light great cosmos was famous for being overbearing. Anyone who offended them would not have a good ending. However, when everyone saw the person who spoke, they understood. It was a golden skeleton. Its golden bones were even more resplendent than gold. They flickered with terrifying light and looked indestructible. The ancestral immortal bone of the skeletal great cosmos. Someone muttered, sucking in a breath of cold air. The skeletal great cosmos was a top-notch great cosmos in the underworld. Among the tens of thousands of great cosmoses in the underworld, it was also ranked 7th. It was ranked even higher than the sacred light great cosmos in the Yang realm. Moreover, the ancestral immortal bone had an even more shocking origin. Legend had it that the bones of an immortal Dao human monarch had given birth to consciousness. They were born exceptionally powerful, and their bone defense was extremely terrifying. They were almost indestructible. Their only weakness was their soul. If one wanted to defeat them, they had to first defeat their soul. There's actually such a great cosmos? Bone Demon was really born in the wrong place. If he went to the skeletal great cosmos, he would be like a fish in water. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. Divine Wushuang's eyes were like two suns as he scanned the ancestral immortal bone. In the end he did not speak. Clearly, he was very wary of the ancestral immortal bone. Lu Ming mixed in the crowd and listened to everyone's conversation. He heard many secrets of the universe ocean. This allowed him to know more about the situation of the universe ocean. Legend has it that at the end of the prehistoric era, the human race, the Wu people, and the monster race worked together and spent countless resources to build a sky-stepping platform. Stepping on the sky-stepping platform can refine one's soul and body with the ancient power of the universe, greatly improving one's talent and potential in all aspects. I wonder if that's true? Someone began to discuss. Yes, there are detailed records in the ancient books of my race. The sky-stepping platform is also an important reason why the primitive universe was able to rise so quickly back then. It can allow their top elites to reach a higher level and give birth to more overlords, forming a virtuous cycle. However, the core material to build the sky-stepping platform is too rare and difficult to find. Many great cosmoses want to build it, but they can't. Someone else spoke and confirmed this matter. I don't know if the sky-stepping platform was preserved during the war of the prehistoric era. If it was preserved and we can find it, we can use it to reach a higher level and perfect all aspects. We might be able to break through under the origin tribulation. Someone whispered. This made many people's eyes burn with passion. The sky-stepping platform was a treasure of the primitive universe back then. The reason why the primitive universe was able to rise so quickly was related to it. Many great cosmoses were envious. Even many powerful great cosmoses didn't have it. Only the top 10 great cosmoses should have it. However, the sky-stepping platform couldn't be opened at will. Every time it was opened, it had to wait a long time before it could be opened again. Therefore, many of the elites of the top 10 great cosmoses hadn't stepped on the sky-stepping platform before. Hearing this, they were extremely tempted. If the sky-stepping platform of the primitive universe was still there, it hadn't been opened for countless years. Once they found it, they would definitely be able to open it. With the help of the sky-stepping platform, they could become stronger and break through under the origin tribulation. Let's go and find it. It must be sealed somewhere in the primitive universe. Many people whispered and left. The sky-stepping platform? Lu Ming's eyes were also burning with passion. If he could use the sky-stepping platform, he might be able to break through. However, it wouldn't be easy to find it first. Otherwise, it would have been discovered by the 8 races in the forbidden area. I'll leave it to fate. I'm still not strong enough. I still have room for improvement. My Genesis art should be far from the peak. Lu Ming pondered and left the place, returning to the Tsongqing Divine Realm. Chapter 5095. Of course, after Lu Ming returned to the Tsongqing Divine Realm, he didn't focus on seclusion. He asked someone to pay attention to the situation in the universe, especially regarding the heaven-trampling platform. If there was any news, they would inform him. Time passed quickly, and 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. In these 10 years, the Anhuang universe had become more and more chaotic, because more and more people had entered the Anhuang universe. Outerverse experts could be seen everywhere in the Anhuang universe, and battles could be seen everywhere. Especially now that the primitive universe was drifting at the border between the Yang world and the Yin world. A large number of experts from both sides had entered the primitive universe. Once the creatures of the Yang world and the Yin world met, there was nothing to say. It would be a battle of life and death, the kind that would not stop until one of them was dead. One could imagine how tragic the war in the Anhuang universe was during this period. It had become a battlefield between the Yang world and the Yin world. An origin source blood flowed everywhere. As for those ancient ruins and secret lands, they naturally became the focus of the competition. Every ancient ruin and secret land was soaked in blood. Although many secret places and ruins couldn't be opened now, they could be occupied first. When the origin source tribulation was over, the immortal tribulation experts of the various universes would come and open them. In these 10 years, Lu Ming had been cultivating in seclusion, hoping to become stronger. Unfortunately, his progress was very limited. At Lu Ming's current level, almost all aspects had reached a kind of limit, such as his physical body, forbidden origin power, and spirit. Unless he made a breakthrough, it would be too difficult to improve. As for Genesis techniques, Lu Ming had just comprehended them not long ago. The space for improvement should be very large, but Genesis techniques needed a long time to accumulate. 10 years was like an instant to a god. It was too short. Even with Lu Ming's talent, it was difficult to make much progress. At this speed, it was impossible for Lu Ming to break through the origin source tribulation and obtain the gift of the cosmic sea. But at this moment, a piece of news rapidly spread throughout the Anhuang universe. The heaven-trampling platform had appeared and was found. When Lu Ming received the news, he immediately came out of seclusion and asked Mullins for details. Mullins told him that the news came from the White Feather Great Cosmos. The sky-trampling platform had also been found by the people of the White Feather Great Cosmos. The people of White Feather Great Cosmos found the heaven-trampling platform. Why did they spread the news instead of using it themselves? Lu Ming was curious. The White Feather Great Cosmos was considered a relatively strong cosmos in the Yang realm, and was ranked within the top 1,000. It is said that the White Feather Great Cosmos did not have enough manpower, and could only rely on people from other cosmoses to activate the sky-trampling platform. Therefore, they could only spread the news and invite all the elites to gather at the sky-trampling platform. Of course, there are also people who say that when the White Feather Great Cosmos discovered the sky-trampling platform, it was also discovered by people from other great cosmoses. Seeing that the news could no longer be hidden, they could only spread the news to prevent other parties from targeting them. Now many elites from the Ashen Green Immortal Realm have set off for the sky-trampling platform. Mullins explained. Let's go and take a look, Lu Ming said. Since the heaven-trampling platform had appeared, Lu Ming absolutely would not miss it. Lu Ming, Mullins, and Huang Ling went together. On the way, they met Fu Yuan, Zhao Wuji, and the others, so they could accompany them to the sky-trampling platform. Along the way, he learned more details from Fu Yuan and the others. The current sky-trampling platform was very likely broken and incomplete. Some people speculated that it might be a part of the complete sky-trampling platform that had been hidden in the void. Therefore, the great forbidden lands in the Western cosmos, including the Ashen Green Immortal Realm, had not discovered it. Now the main reason was that there were too many outerverse beings. In the vast universe, outerverse beings could be seen everywhere. After a thorough search, they had finally found the sky-trampling platform. Otherwise, if the sky-trampling platform wanted to appear, they could only rely on luck. After a period of time, Lu Ming and the others arrived at the location of the sky-trampling platform. The sky-trampling platform was on a fragment of a continent. At this moment, there was already a sea of people on this fragment of a continent. Furthermore, there were still people rushing over from all directions. On one side, there were Yang realm beings, and on the other side, there were Yin realm beings. Both sides maintained a delicate balance, and there was no great battle. Lu Ming and the others mingled with the Yang realm as they headed towards the center of the fragment. In the center there was a huge stone platform. This stone platform was obviously man-made. It was octagonal like a huge 8 trigrams that stood tall on the ground. The stone platform was very large and had a very wide area. Just one side could be 100,000 kilometers long. However, there were a few cracks on the stone platform that extended from one end to the other. It was as if the stone platform would fall apart at any moment. There were beings everywhere around the stone platform. All of them had powerful auras, especially the young ones. Needless to say, they were all geniuses. The sky-trampling platform was originally prepared for geniuses. Such a huge sky-trampling platform can't be hidden even if we want to. It will be discovered soon. No wonder the Featherflight Great Cosmos spread the news. Lu Ming pondered. The antediluvian universe is the Yang realm's great cosmos. It belongs to the Yang realm. You realm beings can scram. Suddenly, a cold shout came from around the sky-trampling platform. Ha ha, how laughable. The primitive universe is now at the border between the world of the living and the world of the underworld. It doesn't belong to the world of the living. Besides, even if it does belong to the world of the living, it will belong to the world of the underworld if we take it down. Someone from the Yin realm sneered. You're being unreasonable. Do you have the ability to attack it? Someone from the Yang realm shouted. No ability? Ha ha ha. How was the antediluvian universe destroyed back then? Wasn't it destroyed by the mighty figures of the Yin realm? The beings of the Yin realm replied. The two sides argued, and the smell of gunpowder was intense. However, they were restrained to a certain extent, and a great battle did not break out. There were too many living beings here today. Once a great battle broke out, it would be difficult to control, and it would cause a terrifying bloodshed. Moreover, the difference in strength between the two sides was not great. If a great battle really broke out, neither side was confident of winning. Most importantly, the main purpose of everyone here today was the sky-trampling platform, especially the top monstrous geniuses. The most important purpose was to use the sky-trampling platform to temper themselves and let them reach a higher level, so that they could break through under the origin tribulation. In the past 10 years, no monstrous genius had tried to break through to the origin realm. When Tianchong broke through, the suppression of the origin tribulation was too terrifying. No one was confident. Now the sky-trampling platform was undoubtedly an opportunity. The sky-trampling platform has cracks. Can it still be used? Moreover, it's a little different from the legendary sky-trampling platforms of other powerful universes. This sky-trampling platform looks a little too small. It's far from as huge and imposing as the legends say. Many people in the crowd raised questions. Chapter 5096. I believe many people already know that this heaven-trampling platform is damaged. Perhaps it's only a part of the complete heaven-trampling platform. The complete one was destroyed in the great battle back then. An old man stood on the octagonal stone platform. He wore the white feather battlesuit and was an origin realm expert of the white feather great cosmos. Since it's a damaged heaven-trampling platform, can it still be used? Someone asked. Yes. The old man from the white feather great cosmos said. Through our research, although this heaven-trampling platform is damaged, its functions are almost the same as a complete one. However, it can only hold a small number of people and can only be used once. I'm afraid that after it's activated once, this heaven-trampling platform will completely fall apart. The old man from the white feather great cosmos explained. Many people felt that it was a pity. If it could be used continuously, many great cosmoses would be envious. Even the top 10 great cosmoses of the Yin world and the Yang world would be tempted and try to snatch it. However, a heaven-trampling platform that could only be used once wouldn't be of much use. If it couldn't be used continuously, it wouldn't be able to create powerful geniuses. Everyone understood that this was the reason why the beings of the white feather great cosmos had announced it to the world. If it was a complete heaven-trampling platform that could be used continuously, the white feather great cosmos would probably do everything they could to take it away. Why would the news spread? Then how can we activate the heaven-trampling platform? Someone asked. It's very simple. The heaven-trampling platform is specially used by young geniuses. There's a restriction on it that tests one's age. Therefore, those who are old can forget about it. It's useless. As long as enough young geniuses step on this stone platform and circulate the blood in their bodies, the heaven-trampling platform can be activated. The old man from the white feather great cosmos said. Then what are we waiting for? We have enough geniuses now. We can activate the heaven-trampling platform now. That's right. We can activate it immediately. Why are we wasting time? Many people shouted. Those who shouted didn't have much confidence in themselves. If they activated it before many geniuses arrived, they might be able to get a share of the loot. However, the more they waited, the more geniuses would arrive and they wouldn't have a chance. No, our geniuses haven't arrived yet. We can't activate it. Someone said in an overbearing tone. How laughable. Your clan's geniuses haven't arrived, yet you can't activate it. Why do you need so many people to wait for them? That's right. This is simply laughable. How can opportunities wait for people? Since you came late, you have to bear the consequences. Many people said unhappily. Why? We are from the holy light great cosmos. A cold voice was heard, and that area was covered by dense holy light. Many people shut their mouths. This was the holy light cosmos, ranked 9th in the Yang realm. It had always been domineering and terrifyingly powerful. Who would dare to offend it? Even the great cosmoses, which were also in the top 10, had to give them face. For example, the Jade Clear Great Cosmos, which was ranked 10th in the Yang realm, did not voice any objections even though most of the geniuses were present. Instead, they stood there quietly. Firstly, they were apprehensive of the great cosmos and didn't want to offend them. Secondly, the top geniuses among them were very confident and felt that they were not weaker than others. No matter how many geniuses came, they would still have a place. At the same time, on the Een world side, there were powerful cosmos geniuses who hadn't arrived yet, needing to wait, stopping everyone from opening the heaven-trampling platform. Facing these colossal great cosmoses, the living beings of the other cosmoses naturally didn't dare to say anything. There were many cosmoses in the vast cosmic sea. The Yang realm and the Een world added up to more than 70,000 great cosmoses. However, there was a huge difference in strength between these great cosmoses. The top 10 in the Yang realm or the Een world were all astonishingly powerful. They had been around for countless years, and who knew how many terrifying existences resided there. It could be said that the immortals were unhindered, and there were many immortal Tao powerhouses. Some of the weaker great cosmoses didn't even have a single immortal Tao powerhouse. Those powerful great cosmoses could casually send out a powerhouse to destroy those weaker great cosmoses. The difference wasn't ordinary. Those weaker great cosmoses naturally didn't dare to offend the powerful great cosmoses. Everyone could only wait. After a few more days, the geniuses of those powerful great cosmoses arrived one after another. For example, the Holy Light Great Cosmos Peerless Genius, Sacred Unparalleled. There was also the Skeletal Great Cosmos Atavistic Immortal Bone. Of course, there weren't just two such powerful geniuses. In the past 10 years, more geniuses had definitely come. Lu Ming secretly observed. Some people had astonishing auras, and even he felt pressured. Now, among those at the same level, those who could make Lu Ming feel a little pressured were at least 4-time extreme break. Those who felt a little pressured were definitely at least 5th-time extreme break. Of course, there were also Origin Realm geniuses secretly, such as Shi Tianting. However, Origin Realm geniuses didn't participate in the competition. The heaven-trampling platform was mainly targeted at those below the Origin Realm. Let's begin. All young geniuses can go up the platform. The old man from the White Feather Great Cosmos said and flew off the stone platform. Whoosh! Immediately, a dense crowd of young geniuses flew up the stone platform. The number was astonishing. At a rough glance, there were at least a few 100,000 of them. Yes, there were a few 100,000 young geniuses, and all of them were peak almighty. Some of them had even broken through. The weakest of them had broken through once. This was completely unimaginable in the past. How many people in the entire heavenly human race had reached the level of the strongest Lord of Heaven? Now there were a few 100,000 of them, and they were all young geniuses. It was unimaginable. However, in the vast cosmic sea, where various great cosmoses gathered, this wasn't much. Moreover, it couldn't be the gathering of all the peak almighty geniuses in the universe. There couldn't be so few of them. This was only a small portion of the vast cosmic sea. Lu Ming, you can go. We won't go. Mullins and Huang Ling said. They knew themselves very well. Although they had the power of 2 breakthroughs and would have been considered top-notch geniuses in the primitive universe, they were nothing in the cosmic ocean. There were too many geniuses. They wouldn't be able to compete even if they went up. All right, you guys stay beside the people from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos. Lu Ming nodded and secretly transmitted his voice. This was good too. If Mullins and the others didn't compete, he wouldn't have to worry. Staying beside the people from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos would prevent them from being targeted. Then he moved and rushed up the stone platform. Fu Yuan, Zhao Wuji, and the others were peerless geniuses who had broken through 3 times. Naturally, they wouldn't give up and rushed up the stone platform as well. In the cosmic sea, those who had broken through 3 times were considered top geniuses. Boom. After a few 100,000 young geniuses landed on the stone platform, they stimulated their blood chi. Instantly, the blood chi on the octagonal stone platform soared into the sky like countless volcanoes erupting at the same time. At the same time, the octagonal stone platform shook violently. Dense runes appeared on it. From afar, the octagonal stone platform really looked like an 8 trigrams platform. After a short while, small octagonal stone platforms appeared in each of the 8 corners of the octagonal stone platform. Chapter 5097. In each of the 8 corners of the octagonal stone platform, there were some small octagonal stone platforms. It could be seen that there were 8 small octagonal stone platforms in each of the 8 corners. These small octagonal stone platforms floated in the air, and were also covered with runes. There were a total of 64 small stone platforms in the 8 corners. Many people's eyes lit up. The heaven-trampling platform had been successfully activated. The opportunities were on these small octagonal stone platforms. Even if one had not eaten pork, they would have seen pigs run. Although no one present had used the heaven-trampling platform, most of them had heard of its legend. The heaven-trampling platform would normally constantly absorb the energy of the universe, which would then be condensed and transformed into an extremely pure and special energy. Once this energy entered the body, it would greatly enhance the physical body, soul, and even the forbidden origin power. It could be said that it could allow a living being to greatly improve in all aspects. In order to activate this energy, one had to step onto one of the small octagonal stone platforms. However, only one person was allowed to step onto a stone platform. But there were hundreds of thousands of people present who wanted to compete. That stone platform is mine. I must occupy one of the stone platforms. The next moment, hundreds of thousands of figures moved, charging towards the 64 octagonal stone platforms. There were a total of 64 stone platforms, but there were hundreds of thousands of competitors. On average, there were more than 5,000 people competing for each stone platform. A stone platform could not accommodate more than 5,000 people. Therefore, before they landed on the stone platforms, all kinds of attacks erupted in the void. Dazzling light collided and filled half the sky. Instantly, blood splattered everywhere. People were killed and their corpses fell to the ground. The competition was very cruel. It could be seen that some people were very powerful, such as the atavistic immortal bone and sacred Wuxia from the sacred light great cosmos. These people were too strong. When the power of a quintuple extreme break erupted, their attacks were unstoppable. Even quintuple extreme break experts would be injured by a single move, let alone those who had broken through 3 times and below. Many people were terrified and quickly retreated, rushing to the other stone platforms. This was because they knew that with quintuple extreme break experts present, they could not compete at all. If they were not careful, they would be killed. Therefore, the competition for the other stone platforms was even greater. Some stone platforms had more than 10,000 people competing. Of course, not everyone on the stone platforms retreated in fear of quintuple extreme break experts. Some people on the stone platforms did not retreat. Instead, many experts planned to join forces to defeat quintuple extreme break experts. Because these 64 stone platforms were only the first step. A stone platform. There were 8 stone platforms in each direction. Once the 8 stone platforms were determined, the competition would continue. 8 to 4, and a new stone platform would appear. The higher the stone platform, the more energy one would be able to draw upon, and the more one would be able to temper one's body. As such, one would be able to reap greater benefits. If they did not deal with quintuple extreme break experts, they would encounter them later. Boom. A terrifying battle had a fierce extreme break over 100 people eventually landed on the stone platform. Then they joined forces to attack a purple gold giant. This purple gold giant was more than 10 meters tall, and its entire body was purple gold. Even its hair was purple gold. As if it was made of purple gold. Its entire body was impervious to swords and spears, and it had immense strength and terrifying combat strength. This was a member of the War Giant clan. Without a doubt, this was a powerful being who had broken through 5 times. Over 100 sky prides besieged the purple gold giant. However, it was clear that these people had underestimated the terror of breaking through 5 times. Zijin was actually holding a purple gold battle axe in his hand, and no one was able to withstand his attacks. Even someone who had broken through 4 levels of the pinnacle was unable to fight back in front of him, and was severely injured in one move. You think you can stop me? Kill all of you. The purple gold giant roared. His muscles wriggled and his blood surged, shaking the void. His eyes were like suns, flickering with raging battle intent. The battle axe hacked out crazily. There was nothing fancy about it, but the attack power of each axe was terrifyingly strong. Ah! A blood-curdling scream came from a silver-skinned youth. This silver-skinned youth was cleaved in half by the violet gold, and even his soul couldn't escape. Fear appeared on the others' faces. That silver-skinned young man was someone who had broken through 4 times of the immortal ascension stage. He was definitely a freakish genius, and yet he had been killed. Everyone else was terrified. Come on, come on! The purple golden giant roared, its battle intent raging. However, no one dared to make a move. The so-called alliance was only temporary. If the situation turned bad, the alliance would naturally collapse. Go to the other stone platforms. The prodigies on this stone platform left one after another, rushing to the other stone platforms like lightning. Hee hee, you want to fight me without breaking through 5 times of the immortal ascension stage? You're overestimating yourself. The purple gold giant snickered and stomped his foot. Powerful blood essence and taboo origin energy erupted and surged into the stone platform. Boom! The stone platform rumbled, and dense runes lit up. A powerful force surged out of the stone platform, enveloping the purple gold giant within. The energy contained within the stone platform had been activated. The others had already occupied this stone platform, and they had lost the right to compete. This way, the competition for the stone platforms that hadn't broken through 5 times of the immortal ascension stage would be even greater. After all, there weren't that many existences who had broken through 5 times of the immortal ascension stage. It was impossible for every stone platform to have someone who had broken through 5 times of the immortal ascension stage. In fact, everyone estimated that there were only about 5 existences who had broken through 5 times of the immortal ascension stage. Why was it estimated? Because it was very difficult to see with the naked eye, unless the other party displayed their full strength. It was hard to guarantee that some people were still hiding their strength. In the vast cosmic sea and close to 70,000 great cosmoses, there were naturally far more than 5 people who had broken through 5 times of the immortal ascension stage. However, there were only about 5 people who had come to the primitive universe. Some were too far away and couldn't rush over in a short period of time. Some were in seclusion, and some had other opportunities. There were countless opportunities in the vast cosmic sea, and the primitive universe wasn't the only place with opportunities. There were 5 people who had broken through 5 times of the immortal ascension stage. No one competed for these 5 stone platforms at all. They directly occupied them, drawing on the energy of the stone platforms to temper themselves. More than 10,000 people competed for Lu Ming's stone platform. Of course, many people were quickly eliminated. Those who had broken through once or twice of the immortal ascension stage weren't qualified to compete at all. If they were careless, they would be killed. The competition was very cruel. In just a few minutes, hundreds of geniuses were killed. These people were all geniuses with great prospects. Even without this opportunity, they wouldn't be weak. Naturally, they didn't want to die here. Therefore, many people gave up and quickly retreated when they saw that they couldn't compete. Those who could really compete had to have broken through 3 times of the immortal ascension stage. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.